And the people didn't dig it when they woke up this morning and found the troops were here.
What do you think they'll do?
I can't see them trying to fight the army.
They don't mind fighting the police.
He that killed by the sword shall die by the sword. Execution by the spook, sat by the door. Bodies galore. Yahweh is a man to war. Psalms 83 and 4, the last thing that he saw. The Messianites tried to warn him about breaking them laws. Not a godfather want his body sent to the morgue. Revenge is mad, thus saith the Lord. Not run. Reagan's sons gotta pay cause he sold our fathers that raw. Y'all ain't slick, man. We know that it's the FBI all up on the timeline with profiles in the skies, trying to whack the black messiahs, tapping phones, wearing wires, but it's Kwame Yashua. Like, yeah, we still on the rise. Death of J. Edgar Hoover, send the vicious, then the shooters got them shot us like a side of shoot. You take a trip to Cuba, this the ghost of Huey Newton, sucker, fuck up Freddy Krueger. Nightmares will make you clutch that Ruger to your own medulla. No cry, Yahawashi, he just gon' say he never knew you. Y'all Jewish people, double agents, who y'all think y'all fooling? Synagogue of Satan, y'all must really think we stupid, but God loves everybody. Y'all must really think he Cupid. Let me get that Obadiah, and he ain't off to no confusion. So false prophets, now it's time to step down off that pulpit. The way we moving like Jeff Ford and Larry Hoover, get down or lay down, we ain't gonna tolerate no cooning. This whole land's defiled and it can't be cleansed but by the blood of the men that shed it. So if you really want to make America great again, well then the time's now, Mr. President. So it busted through his chest while he puffed his cigarette. He ain't even see the face, he just saw the silhouette. Burn Babylon, burn, tried to tell him we got next. It's the birth of a nation, gone like the frankincense. Spooky.
Ain't rockin' with no false prophets. Don't know what that feel like. Gon' wanna hear about your dream, no Martin Luther King, but this is real life. You came in like a savior, like you had a favor. My people still die. I can hear the pain and they still cry, they still sighing, you still lie. Ain't rockin' with no false prophets. We don't know what that feel like. I don't wanna hear about your dream, no Martin Luther King, but this is real life. You came in like a savior, like you had a favor. My people still die. I can hear the pain and they still cry, and they still sighing, you still lie.
It's a lot of bloodthirsty wolves rapping in the prey wearing sheep's clothing. And I don't like snakes, keep my grass cut so low you can't even mow it. Boy, your ears itching, you a hypocrite. What you doing when the book closed? Woe to the pastor that scattered the chosen, causing division, we gotta expose it. My people, they out here starving, you at the ATM making deposits. Some of these niggas be worse than these Christians with fringes and ribbons on hips so they garments. Do anything for the clout. Praising Yahusha out of your mouth, but lead us to slaughter like slaves in the auction. You traded your life in the field for a house. In the latter days, there'll be many that are going to depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits, doctrines of devils falling away. And in that day, many shall say, have we not prophesied in that name? But all those that loathe thy law, the same will know it after death through pain. Like damn, you was just banging on Esau. Now you all hell banging on these laws. What's up with your doctrine? I thought you was solid, my nigga. I never thought you was a fall. I know we all gotta answer to God. Yeah, how I know that I'm bearing my cross? But any man teaching, don't keep the commandments, at least up in heaven. I'm praying for y'all.
False prophets, don't know what that feel like. Gon' wanna hear about your dream, no Martin Luther King, but this is real life. You came in like a savior, like you had a favor. My people still die, I can hear the pain and they still cry, they still sighing, you still lie. Ain't rockin' with no false prophets, we don't know what that feel like. I don't wanna hear about your dream, no Martin Luther King, but this is real life. You came in like a savior, like you had a favor. My people still die, I can hear the pain and they still cry, they still sighing, you still lie.
Purchase your tracks today.
Show your daughter how much you love her with this beautiful gift. It says, "To my daughter, never forget that."
It's Friday night, and you know what time it is. It's another episode of Inside the Nation Radio with your host, Abaya Adonaiah. Hit that subscribe and like button. It's showtime.
Shalom, 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 shalom. What's poppin' is real. We about to get started. We ain't gonna hesitate. We're gonna jump right into this thing. I know a lot of people been waiting. I got 1,000 emails, 1,000 inboxes, 1,000 comments. So I know people waiting. And but before we get started, we're gonna give all praises to the Most High God. All right. We're gonna give all praises to the Most High God. I think what we all can agree on is He is the Most High God, the creator of all things, creator of heaven and earth, right? What we're gonna talk about tonight is, who is it? What's his name? What's the language? Are we saying what we're saying properly or not? And we got a special guest. You know, I don't even know if I be getting on the brother nerves when I keep saying this, but I'm like, this is the coldest teacher in Israel. I don't know if secretly he might be like, I wish he stopped saying that, right? But I was like, this is the coldest teacher in Israel, man. So for, I think about a year now, maybe a little longer, I've been having this back and forth, this thought process about, you know, I'm not very strong in the language, which is my goal, to become stronger in the language and understanding. And so, but some things just didn't seem to fit, right? They just didn't seem to fit, seemed a little, I don't know. So I reached out to this brother and I was like, hey, what do you think about coming on and discussing, you know, the true language? And, you know, right away, he definitely said, hey, let's do it. And we got him on here tonight. The big Ak Zion Lexx, let's get him on the screen. The big Ak, we're definitely glad that he can join us tonight. And we about to get it popping. How you doing, Ken? You on mute. You on mute.
Shalom.
There you go.
Big salute to you. Big salute to you. Abia. Shalom, shalom to you, Aki. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing even better now that we get this show on. We were supposed to do this like a few months ago. I got a couple months ago. I know something kept coming up. Then we traveled. Then we was out of town. Then we was back in. And then, you know, we came back. And so I was moving around. But I'm glad that we able to get on here tonight. Before we jump into the language, man, for those of you who don't know, and I don't know who in the Israelite community don't know, but let's talk about real quick the beginning. Well, the beginning that I know, at least, right? Because when I started becoming familiar with this brother, I was looking at things like Kemen on trial. And I looked at this brother walked into, like, was there any other Israelites there besides yourself?
Yeah, you had Divine Prospect in the building. Shout out to him. You had Hashar, General Hashar.
Okay,
You had Nasi Yashuvel. You know, he was a big name at that time in the community. You had Priest Daniela. You had the whole lines of Israel. You had the whole AOC, Alpha and Omega clan. We was in the building. You even had a lot of ISUPK members. You also had Gabar, Elder Gabar, GOCC. So yeah, there were a lot of groups that were represented. I'm sure there were many more. I just can't remember every group by name. I know I saw some GMS heads in there too.
Oh boy. Yeah. Hey, so
I definitely, man.
Yeah. I definitely remember seeing all them brothers too. It was one that I was trying to think of. If I'm remembering correctly, I thought I saw you go in there like you were solo, like you was walked in the Den of Lions by yourself.
Oh, that was the Kemetic War Conference. They told me I was out my mind because, you know, at that time, you know, SETI was the big name in the community. And me and him had a back and forth spat online leading up to the Kemetic War Conference. And he actually threatened me on the phone and was like, you know, don't come out here. And the first thing on my mind is, like any person native to their city is, it's one thing you tell me it's a no-fly zone to your city. You know, I might kind of respect that. I got a little bit of my marbles left.
Right.
But you telling me I can't come out of my own city? Don't come outside? So not only did I come, but I made sure I came alone because I want to know what's really gonna happen.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah,
Now that's
I'm a
that.
different person, man.
I see that part. Now that part's new to me. That's the one I was referring to. I do remember seeing, Priest Anya Allah. I remember all the names that you just called out, Divine Prospect, and all them being out there as well. But that's when I first became really familiar, and I started following. Purchased a couple books that you put out, and I'm like, oh, this brother is really cold. He's really cold with it. And so I started following more closely and understanding. And I started seeing how the knowledge level with the language. Now, here's what I do want to ask. When it comes down to reading the hieroglyphs, how did you learn that? Like, how did you get to that point when you started understanding that?
So much of that arguably is self-taught, much of that. But then I did learn a great deal with the deceased elder Baba Heru. This is the teacher of Brother Jabari. So back in 2017, I was fed up with the dishonesty in the Kemetic community among those that knew the Medu Neter and their untrustworthy reputation for really translating the glyphs in a way that represented what was actually being said. And we happen to have caught them in many, many lies. They were telling on each other, as a matter of fact. So I said to myself, you know what? One thing I already know from learning Hebrew, anytime you're reading a translation, you're a slave in that moment to whatever the translator's saying. So if I'm relying on anybody to tell me what the Medu Neter is saying, I'm a slave to you in that moment. So my thing is, my name in Hebrew is Abdiel. I know people know me as Zion Lexx. That's a stage name. That's when I debate. But my actual Hebrew name is Abdiel Ben Levi. And my name Abdiel literally means servant of God. And that's the only personage that I'm serving is the creator. I'm not serving man. So having said that, I say, you know what, man? I'm always up for a challenge. I'm gonna learn the Medu Neter. So I went out, bought like every Medu Neter dictionary. I spent a lot of money. I studied with some museum tour guides. Luckily, I live in New York City, so the Met Museum is not far from me. So I actually met and studied with museum tour guides that actually knew the Medu Neter. And then about 2 or 3 years into it, Baba Heru began to share with me. And then that's when my Medu Neter skills took off. And then I, studied a little bit from Elder Mfudiji, Grandmaster Baba Mfudiji, learned a great deal from him, still have, a lot of respect for him. And so, yeah, that was that journey as it pertains to learning Medu Neter, because what we may not understand as Israelites or as Hebrews is that much of our history is told by the Egyptians. But if we can't read the glyphs, we can't read the writing on the wall, we can't confirm what's being said.
Right. So before we move forward, one more question. Can you remember the look on their faces when you started breaking? What was that like? I'm breaking down something that you can't even break down. It's supposed to be yours.
When I tell you time and time again, I'm in the Met Museum in New York City, Manhattan, and I'm reading Medu Neter hieroglyphs. And I have students of Jabari or students of Shaka Amos or students of Mfudiji running, but like, is that Zion? You know Medu Neter? People can't believe it, man. So yeah, the first time I actually demonstrated my skill set in the community, there were a lot of different views and takes on it. I want to say for the most part, I was received with a lot of hate, naturally, the Kemetic community. But ironically, the hate came from the people that didn't even know Medu Neter. The scholars of the Medu Neter, the Grand Masters, they all reached out to me and loved what I was doing and gave me, a big salute for it and actually said, I want to know how you got this far without learning under anybody. But I had already had, as a skill set, learning Hebrew and Aramaic. And in learning Hebrew and Aramaic, Medu Neter is an Afro-Asiatic language. And so when you're studying the grammar, the morphology, and the syntax of Aramaic and Hebrew, and then you move to Medu Neter, you realize these two languages are related. There's an argument, maybe even a debate as to which comes first and who stole what. But I can tell you what I know through studying them all. There's a common ancestor that they're all derived from. Of course, I'm going to argue that that's Hebrew. They're going to argue it's Medu Neter itself. But any grammarian that understands Hebrew grammar, Aramaic grammar, and Medunetia grammar will definitely tell you that they're related. You know, when a language shares vocabulary with other language groups, that language is said to have, commonality, and it suggests trade. It suggests influence. It suggests that they had some type of cultural interaction. But when languages share almost the same exact grammatical structure, skeleton wise, then that says that one derived from the other, or they both derive from a common source.
Mm.
And so in studying Medunetia, that's what I easily learned. They're clearly deriving from a common source. And of course, my argument will be that it's Hebrew. And I actually have a PowerPoint presentation ready to go to demonstrate that.
Man, it's fine. It's crazy. You said something I think was very powerful, that it was the people who really didn't know that gave you the hate versus those who actually studied more and had a better understanding. Those who it's just my little saying, and I'm not talking about anybody in general, nobody watching, just my saying. But it'd be somebody stupid be the first one to call you stupid. It's like first people.
One thing for certain, two things for sure: the universe is always full with irony. It'll always be the people that should not be talking are the ones that are screaming the loudest. Always.
The loudest.
Always.
Oh man. Hey, well, so let's jump right into it. Like you said, we got the presentation, the PowerPoint. You ready to jump in?
I'm absolutely ready to jump in, man. I'm almost want to say, I don't know why I'm off the hook. I was looking for a panel, man. I was hoping that some other people would join the panel.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna put it out there, and everybody watch. How many people we got watching? We got. Hey man, y'all gotta hit. First off, y'all gotta hit the share button. We just under 100. We need to at least get 150, 100, 200 people in here, right? Because y'all about to get blown away. I will say this though, for anyone who asks, why is there no one here to have the discussion? I reached out. All of the Lashon HaQodesh, the experts, or those who know the language, I did reach out. There was one brother. He said when we open the phone lines, he's going to try and call in. Other than that, and that was the brother Ariala. He couldn't make it because he had something else going on, which is understandable. But for everybody else, I've been reaching out. Nobody wanted to. I think you intimidate people, brother. I think that's what it is. That's just my thought process. But I say that to say this: if we're gonna do something, if we're gonna live on something, stand 10 toes down on something, we should know how to defend it, or at least have a conversation about why we're doing it, even if we disagree. We need to at least know why we're doing it. So, with that being said, we will open the phone lines if y'all want to call in, if you got questions. If on a Clubhouse, if you got questions, we will bring individuals up one at a time to the stage. We will open the phone lines and we will take a phone call. This is how it's going to go, so it doesn't get long and drawn out. If you're calling, or if you're on the Clubhouse, if you call in or on the Clubhouse, you have either one question or comment. Make your comment or ask your question. And after you get your response, then you can follow up with another question or comment. And after that, we're going to get to the next person. Typically, sometimes we have the phone lines blocked up for 5 and 10 minutes and people can't get through. So, all right. So we're going to do it that way just to make sure we understand. When you call in, or if you come up to the Clubhouse stage, one question or comment, then once you get your response, you could get a follow-up question or comment. And after that, we're going to move to the next person. We want to make sure everybody get a chance to either call in or come to the stage if they want to. But we're going to go ahead and jump to...
You ain't trying to freeze your hands off this winter. These gloves might be for you. Not only are they waterproof, they're thermal heated with polyester fiber, which can...
the PowerPoint presentation. And we got it. So whatever you want to start, King, it's on you.
All right, excellent. So the first thing I want to say is this: where often we go wrong in the Israelite community is that we want to separate ourselves from everything that is European and that is specifically Jewish. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm actually an advocate of that to a certain extent and measure. I'll explain what that means in a couple of moments. But I also want to say this and get something for the record. Just as the European Jew is responsible in bulk for the preservation of our texts, none of us are printing texts. None of us are reproducing the books. Just
Facts.
as they have been safeguarding these works for years, and we are now coming back into our own identity and are reclaiming these things, I want to say to many of us that there's many more things that they have co-opted. I want to say stolen, that we have not reclaimed as yet because some of us still think it belongs to them. So on that note, I want to say, obviously, one of the greatest disagreements in our community is how the language is to be spoken. You have a group of Israelites that are proponents of what is called Lashon HaQodesh. Lashon HaQodesh is based on the One West premise of learning and understanding biblical Hebrew, and they're the ones that primarily champion it. There are many, many splinter groups that come from One West that continue that strain of thought, and I think where the lines become blurred or construed is where grammar, syntax, and morphology come into the conversation. So, what I mean by that is oftentimes when I encounter new Israelites, that when they hear me speak Hebrew, they say, "Oh, why you speak the Yiddish? You're so knowledgeable. Why you doing that? That ain't that the white man way of speaking Hebrew?
Mm,
You saying shalom. I just greeted you saying shalom, and you hit me back with shalom. What's that about?" And there was a time I used to get annoyed by that, but today I understand it, right? Because humility and growth, they should coincide. So as you grow, you get a little bit more humility. So in responding to people like that, I usually say to them, all right, who have you learned from? What have you learned? And did you ever take the time to study biblical Hebrew, going through textual criticism based on biblical Hebrew manuscripts? Have you ever sat under a teacher or group of teacher, a conglomerate of academians to learn the grammar, the syntax, the morphology, the structure of the language? Have you done that at all? Most people will say, "Oh, I learned it in the camp." And that's fine. I'm not saying that there aren't any camp teachers out there that may possess a good working knowledge of Hebrew. But I also ask the other question. Did you ever learn it in any recognized academic space? Like, did you learn it in college? Did you take it as a prerequisite at this particular institution? And when you start going in that direction, you start to find out that for a vast majority of our people, their knowledge of Hebrew is what they heard a teacher say on Instagram, Clubhouse, YouTube,
facts.
a book here and there, but nobody really sat under anyone to learn. So what's happening now is you have a lot of grossly unlearned people parroting other grossly unlearned people, to the extent now that the unlearned people are seen as the authority and the people who actually know the language are seen as the novice. You see the challenge here?
Facts. Facts. I definitely see it.
Right.
Facts.
So
Well,
there was a time I ridiculed that thinking,
hmm
but humility changes your position and your take.
yeah. Well, tonight, what we got, is the brother's about to break down the presentation. So it's not just conversation. It's just not believe me because I said so. One of the things he said to me was, I like to have things on display. I want to show, because a lot of us we gotta see it to believe it. It's just the way it is.
Right.
So what the brother's about to break down, if you got your pen, you got your pad, make sure you write the notes. Whether you agree or whether you disagree, it's still good to listen first. The Bible say that? Hear out the whole matter first.
Right.
So we're going to listen to everything that's being stated. And then from that point, once we're done, we're going to, again, open up the phone lines, open up the clubhouse, bring up to the stage one at a time, phone call one at a time, and ask your question or make your comment. All right. And let's take it from there. A good, nice, clean build. If you call in, remember, respect the guest. The guest is our guest. So, if you can't respect the guest, then we have to move you to the side and keep it pushing. All right. Sonia, welcome. Ready when you're ready.
All right. So tonight's presentation is entitled Yeshua, Yahusha, Yahawashi, and Hebrew grammar. So my challenge this evening is to, in this short amount of time, an hour and a half, is to share with you guys the differences grammatically between Yeshua, Yahusha, Yahawashi, and prove to you emphatically why one of them is more grammatically correct than the others, especially as it pertains to the biblical meaning of these names. That's important. I'm also going to take the time to actually begin my discussion by differentiating biblical Hebrew from what we call Lashon HaQodesh, based on what we know in academia. So with that, you could go to the very first slide.
With the new IHOP value menu, all your breakfast faves, like pancakes, eggs, and bacon, are just $6 every day. Cheesy scrambles, French toast, and omelets with pancakes. All $6 each. The new value menu, every day at IHOP.
The worst state to live in right now is New York, and nobody's talking about it.
All right. So some people on social media claim that Hebrew and Yiddish are the same language. People often tell me, why are you speaking the Yiddish? When I present in class, my newer students will always come in saying, I joined your Hebrew class. I was expecting to look at only the paleo, but you got the Yiddish up here. So here's where I want to begin. Some on social media claim Hebrew and Yiddish are the same language. However, Hebrew is a Semitic language like Arabic. Yiddish is a Germanic and Slavic language. Yiddish and Hebrew use the same alphabet. Yiddish and Hebrew share a few words, but pronounce them differently. So if everyone looks to the right of the screen at the bottom, Yiddish uses the Hebrew alphabet to write words that are primarily German in origin, mixed with Slavic, Aramaic, and Hebrew elements. Although the script is Hebrew, the grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation of Yiddish are not Hebrew. They follow Germanic linguistic roots. Thus, Yiddish is a Germanic language written in Hebrew letters, not a form of Hebrew itself. To demonstrate that point, I have the scroll of Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 14 to be specific, from the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as the Leningrad Codex, Masoretic text of Isaiah 34 and 14, just to compare the actual writing. This is key. We know that the Dead Sea Scrolls go back as early to 250 BC and come closer into history as late as 4 to 5 and even 600 CE or Common Era. I want everyone to just look and examine the script on the screen. Anyone that can read modern Hebrew can read the Dead Sea Scrolls because they are quite literally the same exact script. So anyone saying that the modern Hebrew or biblical Hebrew script is the Yiddish in terms of a script or writing system is grossly inaccurate, because Yiddish, number one, is about vernacular. It's not about orthography. It's not about writing. Yiddish is a dialect. It is not a script. In order to write Yiddish, you're going to use Hebrew letters. So for instance, on the bottom left of the screen, you have the Hebrew word for day, right? When I see my brothers, I might say something like Yom Tov, right? You having a good day, right? In Yiddish, that's completely different, because day in Hebrew is Yom, but in Yiddish, it's Tag. Now, if you look close, they're both using Hebrew alphabetic consonants, but clearly the language is different. Yom is how you say day in Hebrew, and Tag is how you say day in Yiddish. Similarly, Lila, my children, my wife, every night, as we're closing out the night, I look at them and I say Lila Tov. I do that with my class. Lila Tov, good night. The way to say night in Yiddish is not Lila. It's Nachat, Nechet. That's not Hebrew at all, not even close. There's no word in Hebrew for night, darkness, in between darkness, that would give you Nechet. That is completely foreign to Hebrew. So what I'm saying is, at this point, clearly many in our community are grossly misled when they simply look at this script that we're looking at on the right and they say that's the Yiddish. That automatically will tell any scholar, any academician, that you're not speaking to someone who understands or even took Biblical Hebrew 101, because Yiddish as far as academia is concerned, the scholarly consensus is concerned, is not a script. It's a language. It's something you speak. It is a dialect specifically, and it employs Hebrew. My last example is not on the screen, but I'll give it to you guys orally. When we want to write Spanish, right? You know that Spanish uses the English alphabet. And the only way that we would know that the words are Spanish is first, we don't recognize the combination of letters. They don't make sense in English. Also, similar to biblical Hebrew, when you're writing Spanish with English, you're going to see diacritical marks. So, when people are writing like the Spanish A, they have like that dash on it. You might see the dash on the I, you might see it on the E. Similar to Masoretic Hebrew, those are called diacritical marks. So diacritical marks that come out of Hebrew is borrowed and used in the Latin languages. That's why you see it manifest in Spanish. But clearly, Spanish is using the English alphabet. So similarly, Yiddish uses a Hebrew alphabetic system in order to express a Euro-Germanic language. So what I want to say with all humility, all grace, and more importantly, all love for our community, anyone saying still, especially if you're a leader or that automatically will tell any scholar, any academician, that you're not speaking to someone who understands or even took biblical Hebrew 101. Because Yiddish, as far as academia is concerned, the scholarly consensus is concerned, is not a script. It's a language. It's something you speak. It is a dialect specifically, and it employs Hebrew. My last example is not on the screen, but I'll give it to you guys orally. When we want to write Spanish, right? You know that Spanish uses the English alphabet. And the only way that we would know that the words are Spanish is, first, we don't recognize the combination of letters. They don't make sense in English. Also, similar to biblical Hebrew, when you're writing Spanish with English, you're going to see diacritical marks. So, when people are writing like the Spanish A, they have like that dash on it. You might see the dash on the I, you might see it on the E. Similar to Masoretic Hebrew, those are called diacritical marks. So diacritical marks that come out of Hebrew is borrowed and used in the Latin languages. That's why you see it manifest in Spanish. But clearly, Spanish is using the English alphabet. So similarly, Yiddish uses a Hebrew alphabetic system in order to express a Euro-Germanic language. So what I want to say with all humility, all grace, and more importantly, all love for our community, anyone saying still, especially if you're a leader or a teacher in Israel in 2025, to still be teaching people that this script is the Yiddish, to me, that's diabolical. I almost want to say it's insane. I really want to say it's insane.
Say it up. Say it. Oh man, that's good. All right, I'm listening. I'm behind you.
That's the first thing I wanted to get out the way. I definitely want to make sure that you and I are able to trade. So any sentiments that you have in between, certainly share them.
Yeah. So again, I'm not very strong when it comes to the Hebrew, and that's the same thing I was taught to. We come into what we know as the truth, then everything that's not the Lashon HaQodesh is the Yiddish. Now, how you just broke down that there's a difference, like I'm looking at Yom and Tag, I'm literally looking at, when you see it side by side, it kind of makes all the difference in the world. Why I think having this PowerPoint, this presentation up here is very powerful to be able to see it. And with clarity, the way that was just explained, I would have to agree in 2025 to say that when we can literally see it side by side, it's like I relate to something I know. Looking for two suspects, right?
Come on.
Easy one's work. Black, one's white. You know what I mean? It's like, I can see the difference here. All right. I know exactly who I'm looking for. So that makes a lot of sense. That was a fire breakdown.
A lot of sense. And then, just think about it again. Timelines matter. Chronology matters. The Dead Sea Scrolls date back to 250 BC. This one specifically is dated to about 100 Common Era. There is no Jewish people as regards history and even as regards the culture as taught by Israelites. There is no European Jew on the world scene in the 1st century Common Era. We know that's a fact. We know that their conversion to our way of life is in 740 CE, and they even mark it in their Jewish encyclopedia, by the way. So having said that, Yiddish as a vernacular is not even a thought, an idea, or an attestation until after the 7th and 8th century Common Era. Look at the Dead Sea Scroll, look at the Leningrad Codex. It's literally the same exact writing system. So again, calling this the Yiddish in 2025, that has to stop. With that, good brother, next slide.
Now, I could look at that wrong way. I could look at that, and even though I can't quite read the Hebrew like that, I can see that it's the same. Really quick, before you go into this next slide, hold on one second. Yason 9302, listen, we ain't talking about Gentiles and who gets salvation and who don't. This is not that conversation. If we got the mods, if anybody disrupts the conversation, put them on a timeout. We want to keep the focus right here. This is a powerful show that we're doing right now. Brothers giving a powerful presentation. We do not want to take from that. Let's keep the focus right here where it is. You got it, Ken.
All right, so what we're going to do is listen to about 3 minutes of a video. I might even stop it before and just go on to the next slide. The person that I'm interviewing, his name is Abud Kohen. He's the current grandson of the Samaritan high priest in Israel. So we know biblically there are people called the Samaritans that are brought into Israel during the Assyrian exile. They came into the land from since the Assyrian exile until present day. They don't use the what is called Kitab Atshurit, which some people call the modern Hebrew script. They don't use that. They use Paleo Hebrew. And they don't speak Hebrew the way that it is spoken today. They say they speak ancient Hebrew. So when I interviewed him, one of the things I said to him, because I happen to have already known this, I said to him, because I learned this in college. So I said to him, would you demonstrate for us, reading in Genesis, the difference between how biblical Hebrew sounds via the Masoretic pronunciation versus ancient Hebrew? So the Samaritan Jews as a people group, they certainly preserve ancient Hebrew because they did not buy into much of the ideology of the oral tradition. They don't follow the Masoretic texts. They don't follow rabbinic thought. They have their own traditions, and they only follow the first 5 books. They read other areas of Tanakh, but their foundation, they say, is in the first 5 books, and they only speak what they call the ancient Hebrew. So I said, how does that sound? So I want you to press play on this interview, and let's see how ancient Hebrew sounds, because in our community, we're taught that Lashon HaQodesh is the ancient Hebrew. And ancient Hebrew has 2 sounds, ah and I. Divine Prospect is in the building. Dr. Divine Prospect, Dr. Ron Shields is in the building. I'm sure he would resonate when I say there's a lot of issues with that. Because to say that a language has 2 sounds, ah and I, is automatically problematic. Because when you join consonantal letters with vowels, there's a new sound produced, which is called a diphthong. Lashon HaQodesh has no room for what we call diphthongs. Diphthongs is where you join a consonantal letter with a vowel and an entirely new sound is created. It's the reason why when we take the letter chet in Hebrew and we join it with the yod and the av vowel, that we have the word chai. That's a diphthong. Lashon HaQodesh doesn't account for that. And what's very important about that, I hope this is not above people's pay grade, what's very important about that is that in biblical Hebrew, it's the combination of letters and pronunciation that dictates meaning. I'm going to say it again. In biblical Hebrew, it's a combination of letter placement and pronunciation that dictates the overall meaning, which means you could have the perfect spelling of a Hebrew word, but if you are not enunciating it properly, you literally just change the meaning. And I'll give about 2 or 3 examples. If we're following Lashon HaQodesh, then the word for king is mala'ak. Okay. So how are we going to say angel? Because in Hebrew, they're spelled the same way. How are we going to say the god Molech? Because in Hebrew, they're spelled the same way. How are we going to talk about a messenger? You see, there are 3 ideas I just represented that are spelled exactly the same in biblical Hebrew, but each different pronunciation yielded a different meaning. Melech is how we say king. Malach is an angel. Molech is a god that the creator told us don't worship. So when you're reading a biblical Hebrew text following Lashon HaQodesh, which one is it? Did we go up to anoint Molech to reign as king? Did we anoint the angel, or did we anoint David as a Melech? Which one is it?
Yeah. Okay. Jeez. So it's gonna get ugly if we start digging down that hole, huh? Is what you're saying. Hey, Yeshua, it's gonna get real ugly. Yeshua, so my bad, King. Slakia for that. He said he was answering the question. My fault. The crowd said great point. Let's hit play. You ready to hit play?
Absolutely. Please do. Thank you.
On a vacation rental, if it's not listed on Booking.com, it's invisible to millions of travelers on our platform who
Let me just verify really quickly that the crowd can hear this. Chat, can y'all hear the video when I hit play? Please drop a 1 if y'all can hear it.
You might have.
You on mute.
My bad. You might have to pause it and bring it back. Apparently, a lot of people in the comment section are saying they can't hear it.
Oh, okay. I saw ones at first. It went to. So I see some ones and some twos. Not sure why. All right, let me make a quick adjustment. All right, I'm gonna play this really quickly, and then I'll rewind it back. I just want to know if y'all can hear it. When I push play, just drop a 1 if you can hear the video. Can y'all hear that? Someone said I can hear it. I see a 1. I see 1. I see 1. I see 2s. Hey, whoever got 2s, y'all must got iPhones, brother. Like, cause I can hear it clear on my phone. I can hear it over here. You know what I mean? Some hear it, some can't. I'm not sure why.
It's playing on my my tablet. I don't know why people can't hear it. I can hear it on my tablet.
Yeah, I see 2s. Yeah, and I got it on my phone on this side too. So I'm not sure why y'all can't hear it. I'm gonna start it from the beginning. We're gonna play it. Just for those, if they can't hear it, I guess you can just recap it a little bit for those who can't quite hear. If you can't hear, you'll still get the understanding of what's being said. But we're gonna go through it. I know some can, some can't. Just bear with us.
ואת הארץ, והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו, וחושך על פני תהום, ורוח אלוהים מרחפת על פני המים. Tell us how this would read, how it would sound with ancient Hebrew.
Yes, so in ancient Hebrew, in Samaritan Hebrew, it would sound like this. We say, Barashet bara eluim it ashamim with aris. وارث اياتا تاء باء واشك علفاني توم ورو لوم امر افت علفاني امن.
That's very similar. That's strikingly similar. I mean, there are some differences, obviously. Like I'm noticing that
sorry, one more second. I'm sorry. My apologies. Now they can hear it. I even now can hear it on my separate device. When it was playing, I actually realized that on my tablet, I couldn't hear it. That was my phone. It was coming through. So I couldn't hear it. But the people are able to hear it. If you could just take it back maybe 40 seconds alone where I start to read and then he starts to read so that the people can compare the difference between the two. I want to make sure
characters, it would sound like Bereshit bara.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That was it.
To be the Assyrian characters, right? So in reading these characters, it would sound like Bereshit bara Elohim et ha-shemayim ve'et ha'aretz. Ve'ha'aretz hayta tohu wavohu ve'choshek al penei tehum ve'ruach Elohim merachefet al penei hamayim. Tell us how this would read, how it would sound with ancient Hebrew.
Yes. So in ancient Hebrew, in Samaritan Hebrew, it would sound like this. We say, Barashet bara eluim it eshamim with aris. Waris ayata te'u be'u. Washek alfani tum. Uru eluim emra efat alfani emmin.
That's very similar. That's strikingly similar. I mean, there are some differences, obviously. Like I'm noticing that the chet is not pronounced when you said ruach, right?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I can understand what you're saying. So when
That's
a Samaritan Jew,
it's Hebrew.
That's right. When a Samaritan Israelite,
stop that there,
and
you can stop that right there. You heard all the vowels in ancient Hebrew?
Give the gift of adventure at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.
Are you researching dental implants?
There's a lot of dental offices that'll talk about doing their teeth in the day process. A lot of times with
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah, and what you read did sound similar. Let me just ask this real quick. So the point that you were showing this video is because this guy actually is connected to a lineage that actually goes back. They haven't changed their traditions and they still go by the actual ancient Hebrew. And so the ancient Hebrew sounds strikingly similar to what we call biblical Hebrew.
That's right. I didn't just find any old Joe Schmo Samaritan Israelite or Samaritan Jew, but he doesn't identify as a Jew. Samaritans only use the term Israelite. The term Jew is more employed by those who follow Rabbinic Judaism, and the Samaritan Israelites, they reject that. So again, he is the grandson of the current, as in right now, the current Samaritan high priest in Israel. And his particular lineage has been there since from the beginning. Anyone can look him up online. He's Abud Kohen. You can find him on academia.edu. You can find him on YouTube. You know, you can see that he does museum tours in Israel. He takes people around the old city of where the Samaritans settled, and he does tours in that area. He shows them Mount Gerizim, which is in that vicinity in the tribal area of Joseph. So he's definitely the real deal. And again, scholars acknowledge that one thing among many that makes the Samaritan people unique is that they have preserved how biblical Hebrew actually sounded, because they never went into exile like we did and picked up other dialects, other ways of speaking other languages. They never did that. So their foundational way of speaking Hebrew is as it was spoken in the land, and that we call ancient Hebrew. So again, when you heard him read, you heard the U, you heard the O, you heard the I, you heard the E, you heard every vowel sound represented in the Masoretic text. Something that Lashon HaQodesh says doesn't belong to ancient or Paleo Hebrew. So now I'm going to take you with the next slide into historical attestations of Semitic languages that are considered even earlier than Hebrew, and they all have vowels. So let's get this work. Akkadian, one thing I don't play is with presentations, man. All praise to the Most High.
Definitely.
Akkadian cuneiform wrote full vowels. Source: John Hugengaard of
Oh, you froze. Can you hear me? All right,
vowel, vowel, consonant,
wait,
consonant,
hold on now.
consonant. By the way, anyone that knows Hebrew grammar,
Can you hear me?
that's the exact same structure of Hebrew grammar. Consonant, vowel, vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel,
Mic check.
consonant.
Can you hear me out?
I can hear you now, yes.
Can you start over? As soon as you started, you froze.
Oh, okay, no problem. So,
all right.
Akkadian cuneiform The Akkadian people come on the world scene in 2300 BC. Timelines are important. The children of Israel are considered in history an Iron Age people. There's no attestation of a children of Israel earlier than 1400 BC, which is the Iron Age. The Akkadians still belong to what we're calling the Bronze Age, and they're a Semitic group of people, right? So they're related to us. They're our ancestors. In Akkadian cuneiform, they had full vowels, the same vowels that we're using in Hebrew. Source for this is John Hugenhard, A Grammar of Akkadian. Hugenhard states explicitly that Akkadian cuneiform uses syllabic signs that contain consonant plus vowel combinations, consonant vowel, vowel consonant, consonant vowel, consonant, which anyone that knows biblical Hebrew knows that that's the same structure. The vowels A, E, I, and U are directly written in the script of Akkadian. Akkadian, from a scholarly point of view, is said to have preceded both biblical Hebrew and Phoenician Hebrew. In fact, our language, according to scholars in academia, is said to stem from the older Semitic Akkadian language, if anyone that studies the history of languages in that region. Now, of course, I get into a debate about how accurate all of that is, but the scholarly consensus is that our language develops from an earlier Northwestern Semitic language, which is Akkadian. Akkadian has this complete vowel system that biblical Hebrew does. Next slide.
Cold wind blows and you're fumbling with scarves and hats, but your ears and neck are still freezing? This fleece-lined thermal hood wraps your head and neck.
Ugaritic. I'm hoping that the Israelite community would be familiar with the ancient city of Ugarit. There's a great deal of our history that's attested there. Ugaritic alphabetic cuneiform marked vowel qualities. Source, Cyrus Garden, Ugaritic textbook, pages 14 through 17. It states Ugaritic preserves 3 aleph letters, A, I, and U, representing vowel distinction. Ugaritic does not fully vowel mark, but it does explicitly indicate vowel classes, unlike Hebrew or Phoenician. So even though Ugaritic Hebrew does not represent the full expansion of Akkadian or Masoretic Hebrew, they still have some very significant markers in terms of the A, the I, and the U sounds. Next slide.
And so, I'm a student and I'm definitely learning right now. So quick question. You're basically showing when people say, hey, the vowel sounds were added later, you're going
now in a place called Akkad, or what is called the Akkadian people, right? So that fertile crescent that connects the Levant to Mesopotamia is literally the route of travel that our ancestors migrated and traveled in order to come to that region. So when you go back, right, or when you reverse engineer the walking or the route of our ancestors, you actually get to see that we do have our origin in Israel. But again, when it comes to Semitic languages, I'm going to show you the oldest Semitic languages and how they all have our vowel systems that we're using today. This is not the Yiddish saying A, E, I, O, and U. It's not English, or it's not European. I've heard, and I'm not going to say names because I've grown in my journey to really love my Israelite brothers and sisters, right? On a really, really genuine level. There was a time where I called names and, made fun and, took shots, but at some point you got to grow. There we go. Type a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me. Type a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me. If I can be heard, everyone, please type a 1 in the chat. Pausing the video momentarily to add a quick commentary, but I first need to know if everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me? All right, good. So there's a couple of questions in the chat that I'm going to address, but then I'm going to go back to keeping my mic on mute, and I'm going to ask everybody that most of the questions that you guys asked were already addressed. I'm guessing that many of you joined on later, so that's the reason why you're even asking some of these questions. So the first question that I'm going to answer is coming from official Coach Key, and he says, Zion, can you clarify what you meant by Samaritans never went into exile? Do you not consider the Assyrian captivity and transplant as exile? So let me make this clear. Samaritans call themselves Israelites, but the Bible tells us that Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, brought them from adjacent Assyrian lands and placed them in the land of Israel and carried us away to adjacent lands in the lands of the Assyria. So that means Samaritans are not bloodline Israelites. All of the subsequent captivities that we went into, Israel was taken, not the Samaritans. So that should answer your question very, very clearly. This person that I'm interviewing calls himself a Samaritan Israelite. He is a descendant of those Samaritans that the Assyrians brought into the land of Israel, and they have been there from since the 8th century BCE until present day. Why he becomes a significant witness, why his testimony is meritable in this conversation, is because when Samaritan Jews arrived in the land of Israel, they fled their own native tongue and they began to speak the language of the land, which is ancient Hebrew at that time, which means then Samaritan Hebrew today preserves much of ancient Hebrew. Are we saying that, or are scholars saying that every pronunciation of Samaritan Jews is perfectly reflective of ancient Hebrew? No, no scholars saying that. But all scholars agree, the scholarly consensus is that Samaritan Jews, having been in the land from since the Assyrian captivity, having picked up the language of the land, which is ancient Hebrew, they preserve much of what the sound originally sounded like. However, the scholarly consensus is that the Tiberian vocalization system is actually more accurate than the Samaritan, because the Tiberian vocalization system follows Israelite traditions, whereas the Samaritan tradition is influenced in part on their own native adjacent origins. So that answers that question. The next question that I see on the screen is Still Rise Da'at, and he says, this might sound ignorant, but the guy looks like he has a lot of European ancestry. Does that mean ancient Sumerians or Israelites would have looked European? So a lot of Arabs look just like him. In fact, if you guys watch the full interview on my channel, you'll clearly see that he actually discusses that. When Abud Kohen, and that's the guy's name, his name is Abud Kohen. When I initially interview him on my channel, he talks about his upbringing in the land of Samaria. And he says that time and time again, he's either stopped and harassed by Israeli police who mistake him as Arab, or he's stopped by Arab police who have a problem with him identifying as a Jew. So in his own words, he says he can't live because Israelis think that he's Arabic because of how he looks, and the Jews don't like him because, and the Arabs don't like him because he practices quote unquote Judaism in their eyes. So to answer your question, him looking like European ancestry, I would say absolutely not, because he favors more of an Arab look. I don't think he has a European look per se. He looks more Arab, and Arabs are a cross in their looks, some of them, not all of them, between being European or Middle Easterners. And you said, does that mean ancient Sumerians or Israelites would have looked European? So I'm going to say absolutely not, because if you understand what I made very, very clear a couple of moments ago, Samaritans are not Israelites. So any look or feature that the Samaritans have would not reflect any Israelite, because we are not the same people. I hope that's absolutely clear. Let me move on to the next question. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So it looks like that's all the questions so far. If another question arises that's significant towards the video, I'll stop it again. Just keep in mind, guys, the video is about 3 hours long. I want you guys to be able to get through the whole video. If I have to keep stopping it to answer live questions, it won't really be meaningful for us. But I tell you what I am willing to do. Those questions that I think are really pertinent to what's on the screen, I will absolutely stop. Or if I believe that me responding in the comment section that there's just not enough room or characters for me to do so, then I'll also respond there. So now we're going right back to the video, everybody. And I hope that you continue to enjoy the discussion. This was a powerful presentation that I gave. Of course, no one is perfect, so it was received controversial. There were some people that enjoyed it. There were some people that didn't mesh well with the information, and that's what ultimately led to a discussion with myself and the good brother Shah Ariala. So with that, I'm going to continue to let the video fly. Shalom, family. Three weeks ago, I just celebrated my 46th birthday. I'm 4 years from 50. I'm not supposed to behave like everybody else. At my age, I get to decide whether or not I want to show up to the clown show. People can send invites all they want, but it's my decision whether I show up or not. And I've decided I'm no longer showing up to that. So even the way I'm sharing the information, I'm not doing it from a space of trying to make our community look bad, but I'm sincerely and genuinely doing it so our community can catch up and really grow. Where things are going to go now is really interesting because we actually have Israelite artifacts, Hebraic artifacts that attest to vocalization. So for instance, the Kerbet Keyafa Ostracon, dated to 1950 BCE, often associated with the early kingdom of Judah, the time of David and Solomon. This ostracon shows that the letter Wav is used to mark an O and U vowel. You know how we're saying Yehoshua? You know how we're using in Hebrew what we call either the vowel kolam or the vowel shuruk, right? Those two vowel markers and those two vowel signs are deciphered and found on Hebraic artifacts. So this ostracon shows that we did in fact use the Hebrew letter Wav to produce the O and U sounds, the same sounds we see in the Masoretic text. Also, the Yod possibly marking I and E vowels, although that part is heavily debated. Several scholars, Garfinkel, Miskov, identify probable matres, right? Mother of the tongue, matres lectionis. So with the exception of the letter of Yod being questionable as producing the I and E, the scholarly consensus is that this particular relief demonstrates that the Hebrew letter Wav can in fact produce the O and U sounds. Next slide.
Hey, real quick, if you're trying to read a smaller print, just remember on your phones, you can use those two fingers and make it bigger. Well, you talking about maturing, man. I was finna hit my shots fired, but I can't even do that now since you don't gave that speech. I got to keep going.
All right.
Let's see. They keep going backwards on me. There we go.
All right. Here's another one. The Misha Stela, dated to, or the Moabite stone, dated to 840 BCE. The Moabite is a Canaanite sister language to Hebrew, and it uses the letter Wav for O and U. The Moabite people are in the land of Israel around the same time as us. Remember their lineage, they stem from Lot. And they're using the Hebrew letter Wav to produce both the O and U sounds, both of which you find in biblical Hebrew. The letter He, when it's added as a final letter, it's used to denote the A suffix. That's a critical marker of biblical Hebrew as well. The Moabite stele or the Misha stele also uses and shows that the letter Yod is used for I. Because Moabite and Hebrew share the same script and orthographic traditions, this confirms that Hebrew would have used them at the same time or even earlier. So that means based on this alone, biblical Hebrew was already using A, E, I, O, and U by 1000 BCE, which is the time of David.
I think we all would call that ancient Hebrew, right? I don't think
I
David was
mean,
speaking Yiddish.
At this point, hold on, let me take a quick pause. At this point, whether you agree or disagree, drop a 1 in the chat if there's a plethora amount of evidence showing maybe what we thought is not accurate. Drop a 1 if you think that. Drop a 2 if you still say, nah, it's the Lashon 1. And Zion is tripping. I'm curious to see this. I'm just curious. Because what I'm looking at is crazy. It's crazy right now. Let me see. We got 151 people watching. Get some response. Let me get some response. Oh, there we go. I must got a delay on my end. Somebody dropped the Hebrew one. All I see is ones. All I see is ones. God. All right. Next slide or?
Yes, absolutely. Next slide.
This is crazy.
The Salome inscription, dated to 715 BCE, found inside King Hezekiah's tunnel, also shows that the letter Wav is also used to produce O and U. The letter Yod is also used to produce I. The letter He is used as a mater for final vowels, just like you see in biblical Hebrew. So again, at this point, what's important to note or highlight is that as early as 1000 BCE, we already see that biblical Hebrew is already being utilized among ancient speakers of Hebrew. So that means anyone saying that biblical Hebrew did not have an A, did not have an E, an O, or a U is grossly inaccurate. The languages that help Hebrew to evolve, Akkadian, Ugaritic, all represent A, I, E, O, and U. We have inscriptions that starts from 1000 BC all the way down to about 500, 400 BCE that are also showing A, I, E, O, and U. Hence why I'm showing the artifacts. Next slide.
So real quick, let me ask you a question. I know we said an hour or whatever, but if we gotta go a little bit longer, listen. So, and you may have said this, and maybe I'm full to the brim at this point. Then where does the idea come from? I get the Yiddish conversation, but where does the idea come from that the ancient tongue does not have any of the vowels? Like
One West Hebrew. There's no attestation outside of One West that says that. There's no scholar, there's no historian of the Hebrew language that ever went on record to agree with One West Hebrew. One West Hebrew is a phenomenon. It only exists among One West and its splinter groups. You don't find it in academia. You don't find, all right, let me do it this way. If you don't mind, just take the PowerPoint down for a moment. Let me do it this way.
Do not get a consolidation loan until you see this. Hey, Mario Lopez here, and if you're thinking about getting a consolidation,
one of the scholarly methods employed in order to ascertain truth is to compare and contrast, right? So when you look at Yemenite Jews or Yemenite Israelites, the region and locale of Yemen is literally a football throw from Ethiopia. The people of Yemen look entirely like the people of Ethiopia, and there's a strong relationship between the two. During ancient times, the region of Yemen was considered part of Ethiopia. Why am I harping on this right now? When you talk to Yemenite Yehudim, Yemenite Jews, and Yemenite Israelites, listen to how they're speaking the language. They were never colonized. They were never sent into exile. And when they speak the language, they have A, E, I, O, and U. The only difference is they would pronounce letters in a way that biblical Hebrew does, but rarely. So for instance, I'm going to use this opportunity to really give your community a gem. 99.9% of Israelites will teach that the letter J is 500 years old. I would ask for more context or clarity. Are people saying that the Latin letter J, the English letter J, because the J sound is certainly not 500 years old. Let's just, get that out the way. I'll give it to you in a number of ways. When you open up the Quran,
you see that the angel that we call Gabriel, they call Jibril. So that means the closest attestation to our era in terms of religious literature that has the J sound among a Semitic group is the Quran, where they're using the J sound to represent the angel that we call Gabriel. I'm of the thought, the opinion, and the thinking that Hebrew is the basis of all languages, and that all languages have their root, stem, and branch in Hebrew. I'm gonna say it again. I'm of the thinking that biblical Hebrew is the basis of all languages, and all languages have their root, branch, and stem in Hebrew. Why is that important? In English, the letter G can produce a J sound. But where did that come from? Hebrew is the origin of all languages. So similarly, in English, when you join P and H, you create an F sound, like Russell Simmons' clothing brand, Fat Farm. Like when you want to write physical, you spell it PH. That's purely biblical Hebrew, because the same letter that gives you P is the same letter that gives you F in biblical Hebrew. But that also is not accounted for in Lashon HaQodesh. They don't have an F. But even in Akkadian language, you find an F. In Ugaritic, you find an F. In other Semitic Asiatic languages, you find an F. Now I'll give it to you with the Gimel. The third letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Gimel. In Lashon HaQodesh, they would say Gamal. This letter can be used to represent the J. For instance, if anyone was to go on Google right now and type in Jamaica in Hebrew, you'll notice that the Hebrew letter Gimel is being used. Very interesting. To mark that, the Masoretic scribes put a dot in the Gimel in various places in the text to show you that the letter Gimel always had two sounds, a hard and a soft sound. The hard sound is the G and the softer sound is the J. So even in biblical Hebrew, we did in fact have a J sound. It's just rarely used. The omission of it or the rarity of it does not attest to the non-existence of it. In biblical Hebrew, the J sound is not rampant. It's not all throughout the text, but it does exist in the actual text. And I can actually show the key places where it does actually exist. So on that note, I'm going to also say this. If you go to 3200 BC, there's a lowercase God in Egypt called Jehuti. He's represented on an inscription in ancient Egypt, dated to 3200 BC. So I have a question. How in the hell is the letter J 500 years old when it's in the Quran, 690 Common Era? When we can see it in the Masoretic text dotted? When we can go to Yemenite Jews who were never colonized, never exiled, and they literally use the J sound for every pronunciation of the letter Gimel. Similarly, you go into ancient Egypt and you find a netra called Jehuti. Again, that's a J sound. So again, I'm of the thinking Hebrew is the basis of all languages. All languages have their root, branch, and stem in Hebrew. So when you see languages behave it in a way that doesn't agree with the element and structure of that language, it is more than probable that that's coming from another language. So for instance, that feature in English, that joining P and H produces the F, that's not foundational to the English language. That's a lone idea and concept because English is based on the Latin language, which is based on Phoenician Hebrew. So that idea of joining P and H, which in Hebrew is the letter Pe, becoming F, completely comes out of Hebrew.
With the new IHOP value menu, all your breakfast faves, like pancakes, eggs, and bacon, are just $6 every day. Cheesy scrambles, French toast, and omelets with pancakes, all $6 each. The new value menu, every day at IHOP.
Not so fast, huh?
Tell me it looks worse than it is.
It looks worse.
Should I go on? Next slide.
Nah, I think the show over. I think the show is over at this point. Oh man. So wait, before we go to the next slide, I was going to ask you this real quick. You mentioned Egypt. I missed that part. You said something about something inscribed in Egypt. Can you say it again?
Right. So there's an inscription in pre-dynastic Egypt related to a necher, a lowercase god, a god in Egypt. I'm saying lowercase god because we don't consider them gods, right? So in Egypt, there's a god, lowercase god, called Jehuti, right? Spelled in English, Juhuti, Jehuti. That's the J sound. And it's represented in 3200 BC. I do museum tours here at the Met Museum in New York City. When you go into the Old Kingdom period of Egypt and you look at the vases from that period, you can literally see the Jehuti symbol all around them. And you even see the beginning. All right, everyone. Once again, I'm going to stop the video here because this video answers some questions. There's a brother that says, to be honest, how do you know the Moabite stone and Siloam stone are matres lectionis and not just Lashon HaQodesh if there were 0 Nikud symbols and we couldn't read what you're showing on the stone? So I'll answer the question by first telling you guys the answer to those questions are on the presentation. A lot of your questions are either answered earlier in the presentation or we haven't got to that part of the presentation. So I'm going to definitely ask you guys to have patience. The presentation is still another hour long. There's many, many more slides that I still have yet to show. So many of your questions either will be answered or already have been answered, but based on when you came in, you may not have seen that some of your questions have been answered. But to answer that, if everyone looks at the screen, it clearly says here, a book entitled A Phoenician Punic Grammar, Phoenician, which dates to the 11th, 9th century BCE. Status, earliest clear use of matres in the Northwest Semitic world. Phoenician inscriptions demonstrate the earliest ambiguous matres lectionis. The wav used for U and O, the yod for Y and E, hey, final hey for A. Earliest examples, the Achiram sarcophagus, 1000 BCE. Early but inconsistent. Byblos inscriptions, the 10th to 9th century BCE. Clearer usage. Nora stone, 9th century Common Era, fully functional wad yod as matres. So clearly, scholars already know that Hebrew as early as 1000 BC, as early as 900 BCE, they're already demonstrating what we call matres lectionis. Matres lectionis, everyone, stands for mother of the reading. And what it means is that there are various letters in the Hebrew alphabet that function both as vowels and consonants. Some of you act like this is something new to language. I want to ask some of you, are you familiar with the English language? Do you not know that the letter Y can sometimes be used as a vowel? We all know Y has the y sound. That's a consonant. But doesn't Y also function as a vowel? So take the word symphony. What's the last letter? It's Y. Is it symphony? No. Symphonia? No, it's symphony. How is the Y behaving? As a vowel. I'm not sure why this is so complex for some of you. It even makes me question how well you know the English language. But I just want to say in a very honest, and I'm trying to be very humble when I say to you that a lot of your questions are already answered in the presentation. Those of you who don't know Hebrew, you should be doing more listening than trying to question, because obviously if you're questioning, you're not even listening in that moment. The problem with our community is everybody's a scholar, especially when it comes to the language. If I pull out Paleo Hebrew inscriptions and I ask people to read it that say that they know it, they don't even know it. But they'll argue tooth and nail about what it sounds like from what it doesn't sound like. Respectfully, if you can't even read it, if you can't even go through the grammar, then please do more listening than speaking. And I mean that with all due respect. It's time that the community grow. I'm not here to baby people. I'm here for truth. I've been in the community now 32 years. A lot of people in the Israelite community haven't even reached 32 years of age. Respect those who have experience, respect those who came before you, and listen before you speak. Traces of them spelling it out with the enunciation Jehuti. So clearly J is not 500 years old. Again, we're off the rocker. Now, I'm not using that to even remotely suggest that letters in Hebrew that we pronounce with a Y that we should now be saying J. I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. But I still need us to know that J is a part of Hebrew. In fact, If we are really tapped in with our culture, our tradition, and the history of our language, then we would know this. There could be nothing represented in any foreign language that we shouldn't find elements of in Hebrew, because Hebrew is the basis of all language. So anything happening in a foreign language, we should be able to see its root, branch, and stem in biblical Hebrew. There's no foreign language that you're going to take me to where I can't show you that there's Hebrew right there. So that, again, that feature in English that the letter G can produce a J sound, that's literally coming from Hebrew, because the letter Gimel has two sounds, G and J. That feature in English of taking P and H and it forming an F is literally biblical Hebrew, because when you do that, you're talking about the letters Pe and the letter Fe, which is all the same consonantal letter in biblical Hebrew.
So here's what we're talking about tonight. So when we start off with the vowel sounds, we're talking about now the letter J sound, and we're talking about what's actually the ancient Hebrew and what's not. The brother literally just went back. How many years? I mean,
3200 BC. So that's about what, 6,000 years, 5,800 years.
if these are not gems, you know what I mean? If these ain't gems, I don't know what is. At this point, how can you say, well, it's not there if we can go back and find it in antiquity? That's, hey, I'm at a loss of words. Hey, listen, hopefully those of you watching, we're about to open up the phone lines here shortly for questions. Also in the clubhouse, make sure you get your questions together. Make sure you write them down so you don't forget them. I'm getting text messages saying I got questions, so we're gonna open up the phone lines here shortly. So definitely, I'm excited about it. I'm learning. My tire just got flat because if you ask me, Zion, when was the letter J created? I was gonna tell you 500 years ago. I was gonna say that because that's information I didn't know, but you know, it's about growth. It's definitely about growth, man.
It's definitely about growth.
Yeah, definitely. Was this the slide or we're going to the next one?
Yeah, this is definitely a slide. And this slide is important because now we're dealing with Phoenician Hebrew. So scholars believe that the Hebrew language has its foundation with Phoenician speakers in the Levant, in the land of Israel. And this particular aspect of Hebrew is referred to as Phoenician Hebrew. So watch where this becomes interesting. Phoenician Hebrew dates to the 11th and 9th century BCE, right? So we're still in the Iron Age. There's no European Jew in the world seen yet. We're talking about the Canaanites living in the land of Israel. So listen to the sounds that the Canaanites made. Earliest clear use of matres, which is short for matres. Shalom, everyone. Going to stop the video one more time to answer another point that's in there. All right. Looks like there's another point that came on the screen. Obviously, guys, the live stream is going to be 4 or 5 hours. I'm not sure what you guys are doing. If I keep having to stop to answer some of these questions, just because some of these questions require a response that's much longer than what the YouTube comment section allows. So that's why I have to stop it. But if I have to address all of these, this 2.5 hour video is going to easily become 3 or 4 hours. And I'm not sure if that is meaningful for you guys. It's definitely not meaningful for me. I don't have that much time. So I'm going to say to you guys that, again, most of your questions are answered in the presentation if you just have a little bit more patience. Leader for Christ asked a question based on something I said in the presentation, that all languages comes from Hebrew. First and foremost, she comments and she writes, that's very interesting that all languages come from Hebrew. Then she follows up and she says, didn't God, I want to say she wants to say but didn't God want to confound by different languages? Wouldn't that defeat the purpose? So when I say that every language comes from Hebrew, that's exactly what I mean. That's an actual fact. Every language has elements of Hebrew in it. Most of that is in grammar, the function. You'll see certain languages behaving the way that Hebrew grammar does. And then you'll see certain languages having or sharing several vocabulary words. But every language in the world has a taste, has a measure of Hebrew. The Creator, when you go back to Genesis 11, when he talks about confounding the languages, Most people don't read Hebrew to know exactly what was said in the Hebrew. We refer to the city of Babylon, we say, because it is there that God confounded the language. And the term Bavel or Babel in Hebrew means to confound. But if you look at the sentence, it literally says, it is here that God balal, that's Beit Lamed Lamed, balal the language. That means to mix in Hebrew. He did not completely change every single language so that every single language would be completely different from Hebrew. What he does is he dilutes language so that elements of Hebrew are in every single language. Yes, it creates a language barrier to where people can't understand one another, but it leaves behind a root, branch, and stem for someone to come and connect later on in history. Of course, we refer to that person as Hamashiach. So I say again, a lot of your questions are either asked in the presentation earlier or it will be answered in the presentation later. The next question is, if I'm understanding your evidence, is Yod and Wav being the last letter of the word is what makes it clear evidence of matres lectionis? So even on the screen, it clearly shows more than Yod Wav. So I'm not sure if you're able to see the screen. You might want to blow it up more. But it says Wav, Yod, and He, right? It should also include the letter Aleph, but I didn't have it on the screen here. But this is what the scholarly attestation says. Those are the letters that are used as vowel letters, right? Those letters in Hebrew function as consonants as well as vowels. When a letter functions as a consonant as well as a vowel, or when it doubles in its function, it's referred to as matres lectionis. And so scholars attest to that as being evidence as early as the 11th century BCE. So when you say, if I'm understanding your evidence, I want to correct you. The book is not written by me. I'm not quoting myself. That would be disingenuous, and that's not how scholarship works. The individual that I had the conversation with didn't quote any scholar on the language. In every presentation I shared so far, I quoted the scholars. So please, I would ask you to respect what I'm sharing enough to at least get it right. It's not my evidence, so don't call it your evidence. It's what the scholars are saying. All right, I'm going to go back to watching the live stream. I'm going to try my best to keep my commentary limited to the comments section. After a while, I'm going to assume that some of you are trolling because clearly, again, if we don't have enough humility to listen and read before we answer questions, then you might be here to troll. And if you're here to troll, I could tell you my block hand is quick, or I don't know what else to tell you. But I would tell you this. I've been in the community for 32 years. I started teaching about 5-6 years later. It took me a while to garner enough respect from my elders for them to pass me the mic and say, here, it's your time to teach. And I proved myself well. And I went on to become a prolific teacher in the community, even to this day. But I had to put in work in order to do so. I had to sit down and listen to people. I'm considered a leader in the community today. You know why? Because I once followed. That's how it works in our community. If you're describing yourself as leadership, you have to first be able to say, where did you serve? Who did you learn under? Most of us don't even know that protocol, and that's why we have the craziness in the community today. So again, I want to say, everyone, if you have a little bit more patience, most of your questions are answered in the presentation, either at the beginning or it has yet to been on the screen yet. So I would ask you please to have a little bit more patience. That way I don't have to keep stopping the live stream and taking away from the discussion. All right. All right. And to the brother that's making the comment, nothing personal. Sometimes I could be passionate in the way I speak. I'm not trying to diss you at all, but I'm still making and asserting some very important points. But just like you're saying, it's nothing personal. We don't have no issue. I feel it's the exact same way. All right. Lectionis, mother of the tongue, or all of the vocalization that we're giving the language in the Northwest Semitic world, Phoenician inscriptions demonstrate the earliest unambiguous matres lectionis. Primary matres is the letter Wav used again for U and O. Yod, this time among the Canaanites, used exactly the way you find in biblical Hebrew for I and E. That's why Abud Kohen used the same exact vowels as me. The letter Hey, the final Hey used at the end of a word to produce the vowel Ah, is also a primary feature in Phoenician Hebrew. The earliest examples are attested in what's called the Acherum sarcophagus, dated to 1000 BCE, early but inconsistent Byblos inscriptions, 10 through the 9th century BCE, which are clearer usages, and the Nora stone, which is 9th century BCE or CE, CE, fully functional Wav Yod Matres. A book that you can look at is a Phoenician Punic grammar by Charles R. Promakalov. Next slide.
Hey, in the chat, Gino, hey, get him out of here. Listen, we don't need that right now. Hey, mods, get Gino out of here.
Of course. I mean, if he's going to write liars, including me, that's crazy.
I don't even know what he's talking about right now. Something's wrong with
we
brother.
just said he's a liar.
Good Lord.
Phoenician innovation standardized the use of Wav and Yod for long vowels before Hebrew fully did. I'm not sure which version of my PowerPoint you have. I could have swore I took that out. That's okay. We can still use it, but I did definitely update it. All right, that's fine. We're going to continue as it was. I don't want to disrupt the flow of the show. And plus, I can't control the controls, and I don't want to make this too hectic. Phoenician innovation, Phoenician standardized use of the Wav and Yod for long vowels even before Hebrew fully did. So we even see again among the Phoenician Canaanites in the land of Israel around the Iron Age period that they're using the standardized vocalization system that we find among the Masoretic texts. Clearly, my good brother, this is not Yiddish. Even the Canaanites used its vernacular of Hebrew. Next slide.
Uh-oh.
This is what people came for, right?
Uh-oh.
This is what people came for, right? So I'm going to go in order of rank and file. I'm going to first deal with the term Yahusha. Then I'm going to deal with the term Yahawashi. And I'm going to close with the term Yeshua. I'm going to explain all terms using biblical Hebrew grammar. And then I'm going to show scholarly attestations as to why two of them are grammatically incorrect and actually take you away from the meaning. So most of you know that over the years, in the last 7, now almost 8 years, I've actually changed my views and opinions. My community that I come from doesn't fully accept and embrace me as they once did, because I now accept Yeshua as the Messiah. And I now accept the full breadth of the scripture as scripture, both Old and New Testament. So I say that to say that on this particular topic, things become real interesting, because not only am I armed with looking at things from my Old Testament way, but now with me understanding the New Testament in very dynamic ways. In the Israelite community, there are 3 dominant pronunciations for the name of the Messiah, so to speak. And one of them most people don't use, and that's Yeshua. The predominant pronunciations for who the Messiah is, you're going to hear Israelites either say, and in rank, Yahawashi. I think that's the #1 name that the consensus conglomerate of Israelites are using. And then after that, you have people using Yahusha. I'm here to tell you, but more importantly, demonstrate. Scholars have a saying, demonstration beats conversation. Right?
Facts.
Anybody can go on a show and say, this is wrong, that's wrong. Okay, demonstrate it. And then find attestations that agree with your point. That's how scholarship works. So we'll first deal with the term Yahusha. Next slide. And here's the thinking. I want to say on social media. Social media Israelites Follow this logic. The Hebrew letter Dalet, it means door. Yehuda is the door to his name, the tribe of Judah, Yahuda. This pronunciation for the tribe of Judah is what Israelites are using as their basis for why the creator's name is Yahuwah. I'm almost at a loss for words as to why that is entirely grammatically incorrect. Hebrew has an entirely different set of rules when the name of the creator is employed in grammar. If you're not studying Hebrew, you wouldn't even know that. So yes, to a novice, looking at the spelling of Judah in Hebrew, Yahudah, you just take away the D and you say that's the creator's name, right? We solved the puzzle. We know how to pronounce his name. It must be Yahuwah. Yeah, to a novice, anyone studying Hebrew grammar knows that the grammar shifts phenomenally when it comes to what's called theophoric names, which are names that include the creator's name as a prefix or suffix, and the creator's name in general. It doesn't always follow the same set of rules of grammar as everything else. So you can't apply the logic because the name Judah is pronounced like this in Hebrew, and Judah just has one more letter than the creator's name, then the pronunciation of the creator's name is da 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 da. It's solved. It must be Yahuwah. That's only makes sense to somebody that never sat there behind the class and actually learned from people. I'm essentially trying to say most of our thinking is lazy scholarship and parroting. Very few people are doing the work. So now we'll go on to the work. This claim is incorrect because it ignores real Hebrew grammar. Yehuda contains the Dalet as an essential consonant of its root, Yod, He, Dalet, not a symbolic door. So removing it does not produce the divine name, but only a non-Hebrew letter sequence. The Tetragrammaton, the four-letter name, is an independent name built from the verb to be. In Hebrew, those are three verb forms: Haya, Howe, Yeh. He was, who is, who shall be. The Tetragrammaton, the creator's name, is born out of a combination of the past, present, and future tense of the verb to exist, Haya. This is why we say of him, he's the eternal one, because he's the past, the present, and the future. Haya, Howe, Yeh. He was, who is, who shall be. When you start playing with Hebrew in a way that social media Israelites do, it takes away completely from these meanings. Because remember something I said earlier. A Hebrew word finds its meaning from the combination of how it's spelled, but more importantly, how it's pronounced. You change the pronunciation, you literally just alter the meaning. I'll give you another example. You have the letter Aleph. What is Aleph as an actual word? It means to teach. No, it means the strength of the ox. What you talking about, right? That's what every Israelite says, right? You look at the pictographic Hebrew and you got the ox, and when I see people do that, I automatically know they ain't never sat in no Hebrew class.
Facts.
They just doing lookership and parroting. Because although the letter Aleph in its plural form can be found in a good number of places in the Bible to refer to an ox, that's not the dominant term used for ox in Hebrew. Any Hebrew speaker and anyone that reads biblical Hebrew, anyone that ever read the Bible in Hebrew knows the dominant way to describe an ox in Hebrew is to call it shor, spell shin, wav, resh. Completely different letter sequence. Completely different letters. Completely different letters. That's the dominant term in Hebrew in the Bible to describe an ox. So that means looking at an ox, you wouldn't automatically use the term aleph. You would use the term shor. That's one idea to decide. Secondly, I also want to add this. Open up the book of Job. Go to chapter 33. Go to verse 33. Job is having a dialogue with the youngest of his peers. His name is Elihu. Elihu at one point says to Job, he opens his discourse and he says, listen to me and I will speak to you wisdom. In Hebrew, he said, We a alecha chokmah. We a aleph ha. Aleph, teach. Ha, you. Listen to me as We a aleph ha. I will teach you. Look at the word for teach. Aleph. That's what Aleph means. Not the strength of the ox. It means to teach. That's the dominant feature all throughout the Hebrew Bible for the letter and word Aleph. So that's very remarkable. Now I want to also add a very, very significant point now. In spelling out these roots and these features, you see something. Aleph means to teach. Change the pronunciation. Aluf is a master teacher. Don't believe me? Open up the book of Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 4, where Jeremiah says of the Creator, you are the aluf of my youth. You are the aluf of my youth. Jeremiah chapter 3 and 4. With a different pronunciation, pronouncing it aluf, he's now referring to the Creator as his master teacher and as his guide. All he did was shift the pronunciation. That's why I say,
Hey, Summoners, did you know that each duplicate champion you pull is slightly different? Take Death Knight, for example.
some people say, Ak, does it really matter? You know, we know you're the big Ak. You've been around a long time, Zion. We know your history, but everybody, might not have been around that long. But check this out, Zion. We all trying. It doesn't matter if, one group is saying shalom, another group is saying shalom, and I have to stop you based on experience and tell you, good brother, it does matter. And if you have something that the Bible puts respect on, humility, you would receive correction and edification. The problem in the Israelite community is we're so pompous, we're so ego-driven, and we're so arrogant that nobody could tell us we're wrong unless we find out for ourselves in private and secret.
Facts. Hey,
I
ain't got my bomb right now. I need to drop a bomb right there. Actually, I need to drop like several bombs all through the show. But that's one I really need to drop one on because that's what you're right. I literally was just having that conversation with my wife. Like, we can't be corrected. That's a problem. But we getting a lot of correction tonight. But go ahead. I didn't mean to chime in.
That's a problem. So again, the verb to be, not extracted from other words, and Hebrew manuscripts never record forms like Yahuwah or Yahuwah. The graphic is therefore wordplay in English, not actual Hebrew morphology, phonology, or textual history. There's no attestation that would agree with Yahuwah as a pronunciation, and especially the argument that, well, Yahuda is pronounced as such, and it only has one more letter than the Creator's name. So, of course, the Creator's name is Yahuwah. I want you to really listen to that, good brother B, and I want you to ask yourself a question, right? Without even mastering Hebrew, I'm pretty sure you know enough to know that couldn't be a scholarly presentation.
No.
That someone would actually tell you, because Yahuda is pronounced and spelled that way, it has one more letter than the Creator's name, then clearly no Hebrew scholar would do that. No Arabic scholar would do that. No English scholar would do that. They'll go into the grammar and show you why it's that. They'll go into the morphology and show you why it's that. They'll break down the intricate parts of the grammar so you can know and understand that this means that. Not the strength of the ox and the D. They ain't doing that. Next slide.
Facts. Man.
Yahusha is grammatically incorrect because neither Hebrew spelling of Jesus' name in Hebrew, Yeshua, people say Yeshua is Yiddish. Okay, but it's recorded in the book of Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 17. You find it on every single Hebrew manuscript. So the same Bible we say we accept, I have to let everybody know, it was written originally in Hebrew, right? We're talking about the Old Testament right now. Well, when the Old Testament went to write the name Jesus, they spelled it in Hebrew, Yeshua. You find that spelling in Nehemiah chapter 8 and 17. Similarly, the name Joshua, pronounced in Hebrew, Yehoshua. You go to Numbers 11:28, and that's the same exact way it's spelled. It contains the letters or vowel patterns required to produce Yahoo or Shah. The form Yahusha, in order for that to be accurate, it would require the letter He after the Yod and a Shin or Shah syllable. Yet the spelling of Yeshua in every single Hebrew manuscript has no He. And the Shin is vocalized as Shu, not Shah. Changing the Shu to Shah alters not only the verb pattern, but you're now going to produce a meaning that's not even supported by the Hebrew root. Meaning it's no longer going to mean Yah shall save. Doesn't the New Testament say in Matthew 1:21 that he was given this name because he shall save his people? What people don't understand when they start making up things, when you start saying Yahusha, that's fine, say it. I'm not going to stop nobody from saying it. But here's what I'll stop you from doing, and I'll prove it to you. I'll stop you from saying that means Yah shall save, because that's not biblical Hebrew at all. That's not Hebrew grammar. You change that root, you change that pronunciation, you have altered its meaning. You saying something completely different, homeboy. To pronounce Yahusha, one must add letters, change vowels, and break the Hebrew morphology, creating a form that does not exist in any Hebrew manuscript. This is above me. This ain't about me. Go look at the manuscripts. None of them agree with what y'all saying. And cannot carry the meaning of either Yehoshua or Yeshua. Yahusha cannot carry the meaning of Yehoshua or Yeshua, which both mean Yah shall save. In biblical Hebrew, accurate meaning comes only from the combination of correct spelling and correct pronunciation. Altering either one changes the grammar and therefore changes.
This holiday season, every macro bar is more than just a snack. It's a gift to your body, to our planet, to others.
The meaning. Next slide, good brother.
Man, so what you're saying is I shouldn't say Yahawashi.
Oh, I'm gonna show you every which way is Sunday in a couple moments why nobody should be saying this after tonight's presentation. I could literally say this with all humility, right? If a person was to study through this presentation honestly and sit with people that really know the language, there's no way you'd be saying Yahawashi after tonight. There's no way you'd be saying Yahusha after tonight and being honest. But that also is a problem among us in our community.
Yes,
There's
facts.
not too much honest scholarship, because honest scholarship means at times I have to admit that I'm wrong. And, I can't do that because the people look up to me. Even though you could go to Zion Lex's channel where I have a video addressing Ron Shields and I say I was wrong. You were right. I debated you, Divine Prospect, at my temple on the idea of whether or not Yeshua is the Messiah. And I was beating the war drum saying I beat you, I beat Hashar, I beat Danielle. I was right. I won the debate, which wasn't even a debate. Only to find out years later, I agree with y'all. Yeshua is the Messiah, and what?
Man, facts. Hey, y'all need to drop some fire emojis for that. I ain't got my bombs.
And I triple-double dare Old Testament scholar or teacher jump out the window and have that talk with me on that too.
Jeez. Hey, we should have set that one up.
You see, the beautiful thing about humility, it allows for change. Humility teaches you that ain't no I in we, and ain't no man above the team. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, because at the end of the day, who the hell am I? Who am I?
Facts.
If I stop, this don't stop. All right. Shalom, everyone. I'm going to take the opportunity to address just one more question. It probably won't be one more, but this one deserves addressing because it shows you the ignorance in our community. I had made mention earlier in the presentation that the term for ox in Hebrew is shore. Can the word aleph in the plural refer to oxen or ox in general? Yes, it can, but that's not the dominant meaning of the Hebrew word aleph. The Hebrew word aleph, as used all throughout scripture as an actual word, it means to teach. With that, I said, if you go to the book of Job, chapter 33, verse 33, that you can actually see that. So guys, allow me to do that. I'm going to pull that up really quick, and I'm going to show you how we make silly errors in our community. And I'm going to also use the opportunity to show you why a lot of the logic that we apply to learning scripture is so flawed and leads to the gross inaccuracies that's happening. So everyone can see my screen. I'm in the book of Job. We're in chapter 33, verse 33. I'm even going to blow it up so people can see it very, very clear. And I'm going to use the opportunity not only to put someone on the Summer Jam screen, but I'm also use the opportunity to do what we do, which is teach. So here we go. I'm going to first read the comment on the screen, and then I'm going to show you guys why that's problematic what this person is saying. Just give me a couple more seconds to make sure everybody can see what I want to share. Let me just check it really quick on my screen to ensure that everybody could see. Excellent. All right, there we go. So even as I mentioned, and I'm going to highlight it on the screen, the word for teach is aleph, and I now have it highlighted. And you can see below in English, it's right there, teach, right? And the root is aleph, lamed, pei. The beginning part is the letter wav, which means and that's right there in English. The first letter aleph is a future tense, first person future, I will. So he's saying, and I will. So in Hebrew, that's wa-ah. Then you have the word aleph, and then you have ka. Ka as a suffix ending in Hebrew means you, to be followed by the next word, which is the Hebrew word for wisdom. So this is saying, and I will teach you. Look at the word for wisdom. It's aleph. It's exactly what I stated. Now read this person's comment, and let me show you why the Israelite community, many of their teachers aren't qualified to be speaking in public. The person writes, I'm confused. Job has 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar. Elihu becomes angry at their discussion in chapter 32. I understood that he overheard them, and being younger, eventually spoke up. With all due respect, what the hell are you talking about? We are aware that Elihu got angry at Job. We are aware that he is one of 3 friends. But the point of me mentioning Elihu is because he uses the word aleph to describe teach. But let me guess, because Elihu got angry with Job, we should discard the fact that he used the word aleph for teach, so that now what Zion is saying doesn't make sense, because Elihu is not a good witness because he got mad at Job. Y'all see why the Israelite community is insane? You see why we are a laughing stock? You see why we can't grow? Just look at the logic, look at the madness, and realize that most of the people should have their mics on mute eternally. They should never be able to speak publicly, because the ignorance is so gross, so flagrant, so crazy. With all due respect, man, I'm going to tell some of y'all, stop playing with me, man. Stop playing with me. If you want to go on the Summer Jam screen, I will. I will put you up there. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. I'm going to continue to let the live stream play. But again, I'm going to just remind people, humility is a trait that very few people have. Before listening, people want to speak. Before hearing a matter out, before all is said and done, everybody got comments and questions. I was taught based on the Bible that I'm going to speak after I hear. I was taught based on the Bible that the end of a matter is sweeter than the beginning thereof, which means I'm going to hear a thing out fully before I even remotely think about commenting on it. Clearly, some people don't understand that. And this is why there's madness in the community. People that don't even know the language will tell you Hebrew as spoken today is Yiddish, and Lashon HaQodesh is accurate. And then you present in front of them a Paleo Hebrew text, and you say, okay, read this entire chapter in Paleo Hebrew, and then I want you to do 2 things. I want you to translate as you're reading, and I want you to break down the grammar. That's where the conversation falls apart immediately. Immediately. And that's where you see that people are doing more parroting and more puppeting than actual studying. I'm going to say to the next person, Don't be the next contestant on making the Summer Jam screen, because you will get embarrassed on this live stream. It's not my aim to embarrass our people. It's my aim to educate and enlighten. But for some of y'all and y'all gross ignorance, I have no problem putting you on the Summer Jam screen and making you look just as crazy as you sound. But I could be wrong now, but I could be right tomorrow, just like we all were when we picked up our identity and surnamed ourselves Israel. We was wrong in Christianity. We was wrong when we was caught up in Islam, but we found our way to the truth, right? Problem is, when Israelites find their way to the truth, they think that search stops there. I know everything now. Yeah, right.
That's facts right there.
So
that's facts.
Yahusha is an incorrect pronunciation because it violates every principle of biblical Hebrew grammar that governs the name Yeshua and its older form Yehoshua. I'm going to get a little technical with these slides now, so I need everybody to really pay attention. Shalom, shalom. Right, everyone. So this is literally going to be the last question that I address, because as I mentioned earlier on the live, I don't have much time. I wanted to show the Zion Lexx TV channel a recap of this discussion, because many people didn't actually go to the original channel, which shout out to Inside the Nation Radio. Many people didn't go to their channel to see my presentation there. Many people from my channel didn't get to go there. So as a result, I'm recapping it here on my channel so that my viewing can be able to see it beyond shadow of a doubt. That's one. Secondly, I want to state that because of the fact that I don't have much time, this is literally going to be the last question that I answer live. And at this point, I'm just going to say to everyone, just please watch the video in full, or you can go back. And there are other videos that I did on this. You can go on my channel and see them if you are interested in hearing what I had to say. If you're not interested in hearing what I say, then disregard everything I'm saying right now. So the next question is from Yosef, and he says, Shalom, brother. How would you relate all of this to Zephaniah 3 and 9? Do you consider biblical Hebrew a pure language? So I'm going to pull up Zephaniah 3 and 9. I've seen a lot of people talking about this recently. It's typically coming from people that don't read Hebrew. And that's not problematic, because none of us were born speaking Hebrew, not even myself. All of us that learned it, we had to actually go through the tools and learn it. So definitely not faulting anyone that didn't learn it early on or still don't know it. But I definitely want to say to everybody that you definitely want to learn the language, because a lot of the errors that people make in terms of misinterpretation, a lot of it is found in not knowing the language. I don't want to say that once you know the language, everything is perfect, because that's not true also. Because if you go back to the first century Common Era, there were Jews that accepted Christ and there were Jews that denied him. They had different opinions. All of them spoke perfect Hebrew, but they had different opinions. All of them spoke perfect Aramaic, but they had different opinions. So I want to say that language is a factor when it comes to interpreting scripture, but it's not all. It's a very important factor, but it's not all. Because even when you have people that perfectly speak the language, you can still find differences. With that being said, I'm going to go to Zephaniah 3, and I'm going to go to this passage that I see a lot of people misrepresenting in terms of its interpretation. I hope after I give this interpretation that no one in our community should have this question again. Here we go.
Zephaniah 3 and 8. I'm going to go to my share screen now to make sure that you guys can see this new screen. So just give me a couple of seconds, everybody, to change the screen. This is a teaching moment. This is not, throwing a stone at anyone. It's just a teaching moment. That's all. I'm going to handle it with care. You guys should see my new screen in T-5. And just like that, you should be able to see my screen in a couple of seconds. I'm waiting for it to actually show. And give me a couple of seconds, everybody. There we go. It was just on the screen. I took it down. My apologies. Give me a couple of seconds. This is on the fly. I didn't intend to do this. I just wanted to recap the video. But some questions require a response because they're really good questions. And then some questions require a response because it represents things that are deeply not understood in the community, let's say. So Zephaniah 3 and 9. Here we go. So let me first preface my statement by saying this. Often in the Israelite community, and I'm not saying this is the person on the screen. I'm not saying this is you, Yosef. I want to make that clear so that you don't think that I'm, coming at you. But I still do wish to make a general statement. It's not specific to you. It's a very general statement. But oftentimes in my experience, the Israelites that question this passage to say that Hebrew as spoken today, and even Hebrew in the past, is not a pure language. Many people come to Zephaniah 3 and 9 where it says, "For then I will make the peoples of pure speech, so that they will all call upon the name of the Lord with one accord." Let me just make sure that full quote is on the screen so that people don't think I'm adding to the text. And bam, everybody can see that. So a lot of people in the Israelite community are saying, and by the way, this is only in the Israelite community. No other community is saying this, except for, I think, Christians. Yeah, Christians say this too, which is bad because Christians don't have the skill set of knowing the language, but I assume Israelites do. But a lot of Israelites are saying things like Hebrew as spoken in the ancient world, and certainly Hebrew in present day, is not a pure language. And so the Creator is going to restore to us at some remote time, the Messianic era, a pure language. And they use Zephaniah 3 to do so. The first thing I point out to people is to ask questions based on not necessarily grammar, but also context. In the Hebrew Bible, when the Creator is referring to the children of Israel, he says children of Israel. In the book of Zephaniah, when the children of Israel are being addressed, we are either called the children of Israel or the sons of Jacob. Here it clearly says peoples, which in Hebrew is amim. That word is used several places in the Bible to refer to what we call in Hebrew goyim, foreign nations. I'm going to say it again. I'm not sure why this needs to be said, but apparently a lot of people aren't taught accurately. So I guess it needs to be said. The term amim, and I'm going to highlight it now. The term amim in Hebrew, it's translated as people, nation, and folk. But it's used in the Hebrew Bible to describe foreigners. Are there times in the Bible where it can refer to us? Yes. The term goyim in the Bible is predominantly used to refer to foreigners. Are there places in the Hebrew Bible where it refers to Israel? Yes. So how do we know? Every time in the Hebrew Bible where the term goyim is being used to describe the children of Israel, you find the term children of Israel right there. You find the term sons of Jacob right there. Same thing with the term amim. Whenever the term amim is descriptive of the children of Israel, you'll find the phrase Bnei Yisrael, sons of Israel. You'll find Bnei Yaakov, the sons of Jacob. You don't see that here. So clearly the Creator is talking about the peoples of the world, because God's people were given the holy tongue and we speak the pure language. People will say after I say this, but it don't say that. It don't say Hebrew.
So let me remind people of what I guess people don't study enough to clearly see. Can somebody show me anywhere in the Bible where the Hebrew language is actually called the Hebrew language? I'll wait. I might bring back the bombs to this channel. Some people thought that I overdid it. I agree. But I think that I might bring back the bombs. Can somebody show me anywhere in the Hebrew Bible where the Hebrew language is ever called Hebrew? I'll wait. It's called a pure speech. It's called the language of Canaan. It's called the language of the Jews. But nowhere does the Bible call the Hebrew language the Hebrew language. It's never given that title. We use that title today. When the Creator speaks of the Hebrew language, he refers to it as being a pure tongue. That's this phrase, Safa Berua. Let me highlight it. Whenever the Creator speaks of the language, he calls it Safa Berura, which literally means pure speech or pure tongue. This is a reference to the Hebrew language that all nations will be restored unto. And by the way, that's the operative phrase here. It says in Hebrew, ki az e pok, for then I will change el amim, the peoples, to safa berua, a pure tongue. Likro hulam beshem, that they may all call in the name or with the name of the Lord, le avdo shechem echad, to serve him with one accord. What's being clearly said here based on Hebrew? God says, for then I will change to the peoples, I will change them to a pure speech, that they may all call upon the name of the Lord with one accord. What does that mean? So long as the nations of the world are using different phonemes, different graphemes, different languages to describe the Creator, they will always be a measure off. Hebrew as a language is always descriptive of the very essence of the thing that it's identifying, which in essence makes Hebrew a perfect language or a pure tongue. All of the languages of the world are adulterated, even as Genesis 11 teaches us. All of the languages of the world have been mixed and diluted. If I take your favorite drink, I don't know what that may be. It might be apple juice. It might be water. It might be soda. And I pour water in it. It's going to dilute it. It's going to lose its flavor. Every language in the world has its origin in Hebrew. At the Tower of Babel, the Creator diluted them. He mixed them so that they lost their flavor. They lost their major elements of Hebrew. But even when you dilute something, there still is a measure of the remaining essence there. So if I pour water in a cup of soda, that doesn't mean all of the carbonation is gone. It doesn't mean all of the elements that give us soda is gone. It just means that it is diluted and there is less efficacy of the nature of it originally being soda. So every language family in the world has lost its efficacy of having Hebrew in it. As a result, none of them, when used, can perfectly capture what's being described in Hebrew. So the Creator says through the mouth of his prophet Zephaniah in Zephaniah 3:9 that at the end of days, he will change the peoples to speak a pure tongue so that they may all call upon the name of the Lord with one accord, making it crystal clear that in order to serve God with one accord, a person has to be speaking the Hebrew language. With all due respect, I'm saying in 2025, I don't know why this has to be said, but I also want to say I do get it. I get that a lot of people grew up in this One West box, this think tank, and One West is responsible for a lot of horrible teachings. One West is responsible for a lot of horrible groups. And I want to say that until our people begin to attack those institutions in the Israelite community that are responsible for giving us grossly inaccurate information, until the very institution itself is attacked, we cannot change.
The one West way of thinking and seeing the Bible has to be eradicated for us to go into the next level. They are responsible for a gross level of ignorance in the community. That's a fact. And until their doctrine and their very institutions are destroyed from the bottom up and the top down, we could never further go into the future, evolve, change, and grow. With that, I'm going to stop this screen. I'm going to go back to the next screen, and I'm going to do a Q&A session sometime this week, but I'm going to do it on my Patreon. So if there's anyone that would like to join a Q&A section, a session where I answer any question relative to the Bible, its history, its culture, its language, its tradition, you can join me on my Patreon, and I'll answer any question. I'll do a 2-hour Q&A live on Patreon, and I'll announce this week what day it is, and I'll announce this week what time it is. I'm also going to do a presentation for the Feast of Dedication. I'm thinking of doing it tonight, more on that as we go through the day, but I at least will do it by tomorrow. So the Feast of Dedication, or what we call Hanukkah, I'm certainly going to do a very powerful presentation on that to display and show the community. But again, before I exit this stage right here, this page, I want people to know and understand the pure language that the Creator is speaking about is not some new language. Hebrew is Sefat Beria. What does that mean, Zion? What does that mean, Nasi Avdiel? What is Sefat Beria? What do you mean when you say Hebrew is Sefat Beria? I'm saying it's the language of creation. Hebrew is Sefat Emet. What do you mean when you say it's Sefat Emet? It's the language of truth. Hebrew is Sefat HaYaakov, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Hebrew is the language of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Hebrew is the language that the world was created under. Any language that the Creator is giving to us will be the pure language of creation, which is Hebrew. Go look at what scholars are saying. Look at the works of Josephus. What was the original language? Hebrew. What language was the world created in? We learn in Psalms 33, by the word of his mouth was the heavens created, and the host thereof by the breath thereof. So the world was created through speech. As early as Genesis 1, we encounter Wayomer Elohim, and God said. Wayira Elohim, and God saw. God created the world through speech. So if he spoke the language, the world into existence, what language did he speak? Our elders, our ancients tell us that that's Hebrew. When you examine Hebrew, that idea becomes very clear, because when a Hebrew word identifies something, it's describing the very essence of the thing that it's naming. No other language in the world does that. No other language family in the world remotely comes to describing the very essence of the thing that it's naming and identifying. You can only find that feature in Hebrew. Also, the operative phrase, I will change, which is also used in the Bible as restore, clearly tells us what's happening. The Creator is not creating a new language that nobody never heard. He's restoring the ancient language, the original language, Hebrew. I'll stop there, go back to the presentation. I hope everyone has a great night. I may be doing a Feast of Dedication or Hanukkah presentation tonight, but if I do not do it tonight on this platform, on this channel, I will absolutely be doing it tomorrow night. May it be the will of the Creator. On that note, everyone, enjoy the remainder of the video. And I hope that those of you who are very genuine in wanting to learn the Bible on a very real level, I hope that you sign up for our biblical Hebrew classes. The prefix Yeho, used in every theophoric name, beginning with the divine name, never becomes Yahoo. The prefix at the beginning of a name only at the end. For example, Isaiah is called in Hebrew Yeshayahu. Elijah is called in Hebrew Eliyahu. You only find Yahu as a suffix in Hebrew when you're speaking of theophoric names, names that include a title or epithet of the creator. You never find a full vowel expansion at the beginning of a Hebrew name because that defies everything about Semitic languages. Semitic languages, when we want to expand and construct words, you find a vowel lengthening at the end, especially when it pertains to theophoric names. And you find a vowel shortening in the beginning. So when a Hebrew theophoric name, again, a theophoric name is a name that has a static verb or static clause, right? Describing a state or condition like the salvation of Yah. Any Hebrew name of such that's a prefix, that prefix is going to begin one of two ways, Yeho or Yo. So for instance, we have a prophet in the Bible that's called Yoel as a prefix. And we also have Joshua who is called Yehoshua. That Yahoo part can only exist at the end because it's at the end of Hebrew words that we allow for vowel expansion, not at the beginning. That goes against every rule of Hebrew grammar when you do so. Because as a rule of thumb in Hebrew grammar, whenever you add, you have to shorten. So when Hebrew words go through conjugation, when they go through states of construction, and you're adding to make plural, you have to shorten pronunciation or you have to lengthen pronunciation. Anytime you add, you have to shorten. So you don't find the expanded form of vowels at the beginning. So Yahoo at the beginning was automatically wrong. Anybody that knows biblical Hebrew automatically knows somebody don't know Hebrew saying Yahusha, because you'd never find that form at the beginning. You'd only find it at the end. Yeho is fine. Yoel is fine because that's a shortening of it. And Hebrew grammar allows for that. But a full vowel expansion could never happen at the beginning. My apologies, everyone. Just waiting on the video to render. As a reminder to those of you who are newly coming in, you may need to rewind the video. Most of your questions are already answered. Maybe our moderators can care to share, but many of your questions are already answered in the beginning. I'm just waiting on this video to render so that we can continue out the live stream. I also want to say that I apologize that there are so many commercials. I am sharing Inside the Nation Radio's video clip, which has commercials. So that's why there's so many commercial breaks. I also want to remind everyone to go to Inside the Nation Radio and subscribe. It is there for the very first time that I will be doing a presentation exposing the flaws in the 12 tribes chart. I'll be doing that, may it be the will of the Creator, in about 2 weeks. So again, I'm going to ask everyone to go to Inside the Nation Radio and subscribe, join their channel, because I will absolutely be coming back there to do a presentation. I'm not sure why this is taking so long. Might be a YouTube issue, but I'll tell you what, based on how much time we have left, we are hour and 28 minutes in, and we are 3 hours and 15 minutes in full, which means we have at least another hour and 45 minutes left, and I absolutely don't have time to do that. So I'll tell you what I will do. I'm going to stop the live stream where it's at right now, at least the sharing of that video. and I am going to take a couple of questions from the chat. I'm going to put a link. How about I do that? I'm going to put a link to the live stream in the chat. All right, I'm going to put a link to the live stream in the chat. If you guys, by the way, if you guys can hear me clearly, just type a 1. That way I know everybody's following. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Beautiful comment. If anybody would like to join the live to have a discussion with me briefly on this topic, you can. Chap the Man says, language is a unifier and identifier. Losing our native tongue has been detrimental to us as a people group. Restoring the language is vital to the body. A pure tongue is needed. Life and death are in it. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, good brother. Absolutely. Powerful statement. Very beautifully phrased. Couldn't agree with you more. I'm going to close the live stream if I don't have anyone join me. The only way I'll continue it for another 20 minutes at least is if somebody joins. At least we can have a discussion, and I'll also be able to address some of the comments in the comment section. If no one joins within the next 3 minutes, which time I'm going to allow a video to play, then we'll shut down the live stream. I thank you guys for your patience. I thank you guys for watching. For the full video, you can go to Inside the Nation Radio. Go to Inside the Nation Radio, and you can see the full video. It's titled The True Name, The True Language. Again, I'm going to play a video, actually a song, and then we'll be right back.
Send you the first, send you the first, we going out, out. Send you the first, send you the first, we going out, out.
Preset, if you scared, then go home. And no, we ain't saying it twice. Cause once you get into this war zone, it's either your life or their life. And we ain't about losing before an intrusion. We gotta make sure we right. So we send praise and seek his face. Then we load up at his on site. What you thought it was, it's not. Don't wanna see us on your block. Yelling hallelujah, trying to tell y'all that victory is your shot. We serve Yah's by O, and in this army of hosts, yeah, Yahoo the lead. True indeed, in his name we boast. Don't
send you the first, send you the first, we going out, out. Send you the first, send you the first, we going out. Torch fire, flags in the street. Sing louder, kick up the beat. All them enemy feet get delete when we cray in the street. Drew the drop them me. Who got the praise for days? Who are the what came face? Made for praise, spit prophecy. We be that anointed royalty. I said we came. Hey. The bar Hamayim number 2, that's on replay. Yeah, we gon' bust them walls, mash up and be on our way. Yeah, to the nations we proclaim his Kodash name. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yah, Yah. Send you the first. Send you the first, we going out, out. Send you the first.
You said.
Send you the first, we going out, out.
From Symbion to Benjamin, we need every man out here standing. Got sisters home and they praying while they brothers in the field slaying.
Slaying demons in sorrow. Hamashiach, we do follow. Sword the truth, we loud no mute. We lenders out here, we know no borrow.
Jacob's seed is undefeated. We y'all's greeted with praise and leads us through a war without a grievance. Till the win is completed, then we return with our pieces.
Peace banger, peace be still with the Rangers. Mighty Morphin, we hang them up the drive, they can hang on, hang on.
Let's go.
Send you the first, send you the first, we going. Send you the first, send you the first, we going. Send you the first, send you the first, we going out, out.
All right. So returning to the live stream, I see someone said, when I sign up to the Patreon, they are automatically enroll in your Hebrew classes. So our Patreon is divided by tiers. We have a silver tier, we have a gold tier, we have a platinum tier, We have a diamond tier, we have our sapphire tier, and we have what's called our Levitical tier. Each higher tier gives you access to the tiers below. Our Hebrew class is our diamond tier. It includes our weekly Torah, Kabbalah classes. So if you join our Hebrew class, you're automatically enrolled in our Tuesday Torah class, our Thursday Kabbalah class. Our Hebrew classes are every Monday at 8 p.m., so that's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We have a rabbinical studies program, which is Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Right, that's our full class lineup right now. We have several other classes that we offer, but they're seasonal. I do an Aramaic language class. I do a Medo-Neter hieroglyphic class where I actually teach Medo-Neter and hieroglyphs. By the way, who in the Israelite community is actually doing that? I'll wait. We have a Matriarchs of the Covenant course. We have a Patriarchs of the Covenant course, but those again are seasonal courses. So they happen at different times of the year. So for those of you, again, that would like to join our online academy, Learn Torah Hebrew Academy, you can. I'll even briefly go into a description so everybody could be clear, at least everybody on this live stream and everybody who replays this live stream. Here we go.
Shalom and welcome to Zion Lexx TV. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, and share the live stream. Become a member of Zion Lexx TV and unlock several hidden features and hidden videos. Also, you can donate to Zion Lexx TV at Cash App $Zion Lexx or via PayPal at zionlex@gmail.com. We also have an online academy entitled Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. Visit us on patreon.com/learntorah. Our gold tier membership gives you unlimited access to our special event lectures and our special live movie nights. Our platinum tier gives you unlimited access to our Torah class, Kabbalah class, Patriarchs and Matriarchs of the Covenant classes, as well as understanding the New Testament via the oral tradition class. Our diamond tier gives you unlimited access to all of the previous tiers, as well as our most sought-after class, our Biblical Hebrew course. And finally, our highest tier, our Sapphire tier, gives you unlimited access to all previous tiers, as well as our highly esteemed rabbinical course. Be sure to sign up today and check your tier membership so as to ensure you're getting access to the classes you desire. Thank you for visiting us here at Zion Lexx TV, and now back to our current live stream.
Want to take your understanding and perception of the Hebrew Bible to new and exciting heights and depths? Then join us today at Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. We offer a full range of masterly taught and thought-provoking classes and courses in Biblical Hebrew for beginners and advanced students, Torah classes, with specific emphasis on the weekly Torah portion. We also offer Kabbalah classes for beginners and advanced students, affording everyone a deeper and more esoteric understanding of the Bible and Torah. Lastly, we also offer courses in rabbinical and Levitical ministry training, especially designed for those looking to embark upon leadership opportunities in the community. We provide certificates and diplomas for several of our classes. Our online academy meets a couple days a week, and all of our classes are video recorded and for your playback needs. Each class recording comes with a fully digitized AI transcript, documenting everything learned and discussed in each session.
All right. So what I want to add now is to say this. For those of you who are joining the live stream, make sure that we can see your face. Make sure we can see your face. We do have someone that joined. We're going to ask that person to turn on your camera before we go live. Please turn on your camera before we go live. If you're joining the live stream, make sure that we can see your face. There we go. All right. Just before I unmute your mic and you and I enter into a discussion, I just want to remind people that sometimes people ask, why is it that you charge, Zion? Are you charging for the language, the culture, the history? Are you monetizing education? Yes. Short answer, yes. Anytime a person sacrifices their time, that sacrifice must be met with sacrifice. You have to be able to compensate a person. You might hear people say things like, "Oh, okay, well then I'm gonna just stay at my camp and learn because we teach the Hebrew for free." Well, okay, keep saying Abba Gada Ha Ha if you're cool with that. But if you really want to learn Hebrew, you're probably gonna have to go in your pocket, dig a little if you want Premier, right? If you want a Humpty, yeah, you could get a Humpty. It's $300-400. If you want a Benz, you got to spend, right? So on that note, I say to everybody that the compensation that we require to take our courses is because of time and because of the quality of information shared. Even in the camps where people tell you, "Oh, it's free here. Our camp teaches Hebrew for free. We go into the Torah class for free." Nothing's for free. All of those camps have dues. There's a monthly membership. For some camps, they have a weekly membership, and they also have feast day dues. So don't even believe people when they start running the crap that, "Oh, in my camp, it's free to learn Hebrew." Nothing's free. In your camp, you still pay a monthly due, don't you? What do you think that monthly fee is covering in part? Silly. The Lashon HaQodesh that you're learning. So on that note, I say to everybody that most of you who went to college, did you knock on the door and say, "Hey, why are you monetizing money?" Or did many of you get stuck in debt to pay that because you revered the quality of information? But to support your own in your own community is always, "Oh, why are you charging?" I have a whole life. I should take away from my personal life, make myself available, and that not be compensated? So what if I asked you to come and teach 5 days a week, 4 days a week, at times that would take you away from what could probably be a livelihood? Let's see how long you do that. So let's be real and let's be honest, family. If you have enough respect for information and knowledge, meet that respect with sacrifice. The person sharing the information has to sacrifice their time, their efforts, and share their expertise with you. Israelites are so brilliant. One last thing I'm going to say before me and Gamliel go into it. Israelites are so brilliant. You'll hear Israelites say things, well, the proverb says, "Buy the truth and sell it not." So you wrong. I wish y'all could see my smile. I'm not really dressed for the occasion. That's why I'm not showing myself, but I wish you guys could see my smile right now, because sometimes we say the silliest things and really think that we dropping a bomb when we really dropped a firecracker. Telling me that proverb says, "Buy the truth and sell it not," is not you telling me that I can't offer these classes for money. Because need I remind you of the operative phrase, "buy the truth"? Somebody had to been selling it. You see how y'all don't even be reading? Buy the truth and sell it not. In order to buy it, somebody sold it to you, right? So what does the sell it not mean? Sell it not in Hebrew, when you examine that word, is examined within the context of do not give it away. To keep it for the reserve of the community, keep it for the growth of the community. You don't want to do what Esau did, right? Which is to give away his birthright. That's what we're talking about. In order to buy the truth, as Proverbs said, I got a question for you. Who was selling it? With that note, good brother Gamliel, the stage is yours. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience. And I'd love to hear what you'd like to say, good brother.
Well, shalom. And I just wanted to come up here and say how much I appreciate the fact that you are covering this. I feel like this was long overdue and very much needed in the Israelite community because, as has been stated, a lot of people are coming up with certain doctrines that if you were to examine those doctrines through the language, a lot of them would collapse, right? And you already know my story, coming from an Islamic background and studying Arabic for many years. And coming into this knowledge, the first thing I did, I said I wanted to learn the Hebrew. And I immediately started, once I did get a a decent grasp of the Hebrew, I started to see that certain things that are being taught or rely upon certain translations, and that when you go into the actual language itself, it's not exactly something that's you can support from the Hebrew. So I think it's very good, and I commend Brother Ariala for coming up and having that dialogue with you. I think that I hope that he really thinks about the things that you shared and changes his stance and teaches the proper language, because I think it really will help us go to the next level. And I do notice that a lot of camps really do seem like they are afraid of the language. They're afraid to go into the language because obviously, it's something that's new, even for the top leaders of those camps. So they may end up realizing that some things that they taught um, cannot be supported when you go into the actual language itself, and they would have to go back and address a lot of their doctrines that they were teaching. So I think that's a huge reason why a lot of the One West camps avoid the language completely, or like there have been times where I talked to certain brothers from a certain camp, and they immediately hit me with Isaiah 28:11 and the other verse that you went over earlier about the
Change
pure
the
language.
language, the pure language.
Yeah, they say, "Oh no, we're gonna get this language. This Hebrew is Yiddish." Oh my God, I hate when they say
Well, first and foremost, let me say this. Nice to finally see your face, good brother. You've
Yeah.
been in the academy for quite some time. You are a monster in the scriptures. You are a giant of a Torah scholar. You have a language specialty. You can read Hebrew. You can speak Hebrew to a certain extent and measure. You also can read Arabic classic, can speak it. You have extensive Islamic studies, extensive biblical Hebrew studies, and you're continuing to add to your repertoire. And I gotta say that when I first saw the face, because I never actually saw your face, I didn't know who it was, but I said, I wonder who's calling themselves Gamliel.
Yes, it's me, man.
Powerful, brother, powerful. So now that I got you on the grand stage, something I've been trying to do for a while, let's have some fun, man. I wish I could show my face, y'all, but I look like a hot mess. And I but I want to say this, good brother. Now that I got you on the stage, let's address some things, right? Let's edify the community, man. So you've been following this dialogue, and you understand why language interpretation is important towards interpreting the scriptures. So just following the overall sentiment of what's been shared in the last couple of days, without having to name Shar Ariala or even myself, could you expound a little bit more on, based on the Quran, based on the Bible, comparing and contrasting the traditions of them both, the demonstration, evolution of them both, why it is that proper interpretation is important towards translation? And I'll add this before you jump in. I am not a Quranic scholar. I do read the Quran. I am not an Arabic scholar. I am a flimsy beginners in Arabic. You would run laps around me. Anybody that really knows Arabic would run laps around me. But I can identify some Arabic words, and I can enter some part of the discussion. But that's not my skill set. But what I have come to learn in looking at the Quran in Hebrew and Arabic is just how it is in Hebrew. Without proper interpretation of the language, Quranic scholars will easily tell you that you're going to have a very challenging time trying to translate it. There are many hadith that even come to rightly interpret what scholars get wrong in interpretation. So again, I'm asking you, can you compare and contrast the method of study in Quranic studies using Arabic, the method of studies of the Torah using Hebrew, and why proper language interpretation is imperative to understanding what's written?
Yes. So first, like I was not born speaking Arabic, for one. When I was young, reading the Quran in English, some of my Arab friends would say, if I shared a verse with them, say, hey, look what the Quran says. Oh no, that's not really what it says. You don't know the Arabic. They will always kind of hold this against me that I didn't know Arabic. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna learn Arabic. Right. So I started studying Arabic like a madman. And I wasn't taking classes or anything like that. I literally just got a dictionary and well, first I had a friend who just came back from Yemen, no, from Syria. He was in Syria at the time, and he came back and he said, "Hey, while I'm here, I'm willing to teach people how to read Arabic." I said, "Yeah, I'm definitely interested." So I learned how to read from him, and then he went back to Syria, and then so I started reading, and I learned how to parse verbs and conjugate and know if it's a past tense or future, continuous tense or so on and so forth, or a noun or whatever. And then like being able to see the roots of the word, like actually determine what is the actual root, and then I would look up the word in the dictionary, and that's how I learned in the beginning. I just went word by word. I just opened the Quran, went word by word, starting with Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2 of the Quran. And I just continued doing that. And then I started memorizing it actually by doing it. And so I did see that after learning the language that certain things just weren't there in the Arabic. Certain things that people teach were not there in the Arabic. For example, the Quran actually teaches that if you're an Israelite, you must follow the Torah. It doesn't say,
Come
hey,
on.
leave the Torah and come to the Quran now. It doesn't say that. Nowhere does it
Come
say
on.
that.
Teach.
It also never says that the Torah or the Bible is corrupted in the Arabic language. It doesn't say that. These are things that, modern schools of thought teach, but the Quran doesn't say those things. And I was able to see that, by actually going beyond the English in the Quran and reading the Arabic itself. So even with the Bible, right, it's the same thing. I took the same exact approach when I discovered who I was as an Israelite. I never read the Bible growing up. So everything I knew about the children of Israel and the prophets all came from the Quran. And so, when I started to study the Bible, the first thing I said, I need to learn Hebrew because I don't want to fall into the same trap that I fell into in Islam, where they would inject certain biases or beliefs into the translation that's not actually there in the Arabic. So I immediately started doing that, and that was like 10 years ago. I started studying the Hebrew. Me and my mother, every Shabbat, we would read the Torah. And I can tell you that the same thing that I saw happening in Islam with the Quran and how they inject certain beliefs into the text in the translation is also there in the English translations of the Bible. So it's really beneficial to learn the Hebrew. And also having that background in Arabic made it extremely easy to learn the Hebrew. It's not a hard language. I would actually say that Arabic is probably a little harder because it has a bigger vocabulary and it has continued to grow over the years, whereas Hebrew kind of was frozen in time until they resurrected it, right?
That's right.
So Hebrew is not a hard language to learn. If you're really serious, I would definitely say, hey, learn it. It will help you. Now, I'm not saying that in order to really be able to, be a righteous person or keep the laws that you have to know it, but it's definitely going to help you.
All right, I got two questions for you. First question is relative to the academy. Second question is again relative to the Quran and Islam. My first question is, we are brutally honest in our classes, and I don't expect you to be any other way. So continue in that same spirit of being brutally honest and brutally share with us how has Learn Torah Hebrew Academy been influential, if at all, in your knowledge of the scriptures? That's my first question. My second question is, what parts of the Quran validate the Israelite experience to the extent that the Quran places the Torah as the echelon of divine order? The Quran teaches that the Messiah that we're looking for, that's Yeshua, just as we believe in Hebraic tradition. So I want you to kind of clarify and edify us on those things to as the second question. But first, I want you to briefly tell us how, if at all, Learn Torah Hebrew Academy has been influential in your learning the Bible, and in what way?
Oh, it's definitely beneficial because there's a lot of knowledge that is obscured, meaning that unless you go into the language, you're not going to see certain things. I remember there was a class that you gave that really blew my mind, where I can't remember what verse that you were showing, but it was talking about the tribes, the 10 tribes going into exile, and you were showing the Hebrew, and you said, you see how this letter lamed here is oversized. Why did the scribes write this letter lamed bigger than the other letters around it, right? And I always wondered about that. Like when I would read in the Hebrew, certain letters, even in Genesis, Bereshit, the bait is big, right? And you even covered why is that? You did a whole like lesson on why that is, and I think that's some of the things that you can't learn without going into the language, because there are hidden clues in the language itself, and I did not know those things until I started coming to your classes. You recommended books as well, right? You recommended the what is it? The Chumash, the Baal Haturim Chumash, which goes into a lot of that information in the text. The Gematria is huge, also. Gematria is very huge. That's another thing you're not gonna get by reading the English translation, is you're not gonna be able to see those hidden gems that are encoded within the Bible, right? So I feel like it's very beneficial. The Torah portion classes, the Hebrew classes, right? Even some of the Kabbalah stuff was very interesting. So if there's anybody who's thinking about, joining the class, I would highly recommend it. You will learn a lot, and so I would definitely say, hey, yeah, try it out. You will. There are some things that he teaches, a lot of things that he teaches actually, that are just mind blowing, and you won't just get it from the text. And there was another one where you, I mean, it was part of that whole Gematria lesson that you did, which was very good. But there's a word in, I can't remember if it was in Jeremiah but he calls it, I can't remember the exact word that but when you did the Gematria, it turns out to be Babylon or Babel.
The word Shishak. The word Shishak.
Shishak, right? Now you ask anybody, what is Shishak? Nobody's gonna know it's a code.
It's a code.
And the only way you're gonna know it is but if you understand the Gematria. So the Gematria is heavily encoded in the Bible.
Before you answer question 2, you do an amazing job, co-signing our academy. I appreciate you for doing so. Before you go to your second question, I'm going to remind you what that is. I definitely have to elaborate on the point that you're making. So in the book of Jeremiah, it refers to us being sent to a place called Shishak. You look that up in the Bible dictionary in terms of a place name, and it doesn't exist. There is no place name in the ancient world called Shishak. There are people in the Israelite community, some of them who I love and respect, so much so that I'm not going to say their names out of love and respect, that will teach that Gematria is post-exilic and that it is not part and parcel of Israelite tradition. And while I respect many opinions and views in the Israelite community, that doesn't mean I have to agree with them all, even as some of my brothers who respect me don't agree with all of my views. And this is one such instance where a person saying that is going to be deeply confounded. And this is why the study of our oral tradition is as equally important as internalizing the written tradition through understanding grammar and history. Our oral tradition provides us with exegetical tools. One of them is Gematria. Gematria can be found in the New Testament. In the New Testament, it says, calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, 666 years, 666. Ask anyone who has scholarship in New Testament studies, and they'll tell you what that is in Greek, in Latin, that is the numerical equivalence of the name of Emperor Nero, or the name of Emperor Titus, or the name of this person. It's a numeric sequence, an alphanumeric sequence. But that same person will tell you, but we don't study Gematria. So what the hell you think that was? Genius? When the text says, calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number and name of a man, and we all know that everyone interpreting that knows that it means that the numerical equivalency of that person's name in a number of languages amounts to 666. That's how we solve the riddle. Well, newsflash, geniuses, if you don't know what that's called, that's Gematria. With various words, every word in the Hebrew alphabet has a sum total number, because every letter in the Hebrew alphabet dually functions not just as a letter, but also as a number. So if I was to present right now an entirely Hebrew Bible, you're not going to find the letters 1, 2, and the numbers 1, 2, and 3. When you're looking at verse 1, 2, and 3, you're going to see Aleph, Bet, Gimel. Anybody that reads an entirely Hebrew Bible, you know that. Our oral tradition instructs us that when two words in the Hebrew language share the same sum total numerical value, that they have a conceptual relationship. So that's one level of Gematria. That's the level that most people are familiar with. But you can always tell who's seasoned in what Gematria is by the dimension and level that they can get into it. Because Gematria has up to 7 different exegetical methods. One of them is called the Atbash method. The Atbash method of Gematria solves the riddle of what Shishak is and bears witness to the fact that the writer in Jeremiah clearly followed this Gematria letter sequence in order to do so, and I'll explain. The Atbash method of Gematria is where we substitute the letter Aleph with Tav, Beit with Shin, Gimel with Resh. I hope everybody's following the order. We substitute the letter Aleph with Tav, the first letter with the last letter, the second to last letter with the second letter, and so on. It's a transposition of the letters where Aleph becomes Tav, Tav becomes Aleph. When you do that method with the name Shishak, you realize it spells Bavel or Babylon, because in the Atbash method, the letter Shin is comparable to the letter Beit, and there are 2 of them, Shishak. So the first 2 shins are Beit Beit. The Kaf is transposed for Lamed. So Shishak in the Atbash tradition is really a reference to Babylon, and that's clearly where Jeremiah said we were going. But here's the question of the day. Why didn't Jeremiah just say that? Some genius is thinking. Jeremiah at a certain time is writing under the supervision of Babylonian colonial powers. In the time of Yeshua, he spoke in riddles because of Roman colonial powers. Anyone speaking in captivity against the Roman government, fostering the rise and empowerment of our people, you were saw as a threat to the government structure. So our prophets spoke in codes. Gematria is one of them. The Atbash method is one of them. Jeremiah revealed that we would be brought up from the land of Babylon, but he didn't want the Babylonians to think that we were planning an uprising. So how does he communicate that to us without sharing exactly what that is? He writes Shishak, which in the Atbash method is Babylon. You see why y'all should really be learning from qualified teachers? Can you show me one camp teacher that's going to show you that? Ba ga da ha ha ha. What? What? But continue, good brother. Thank you for bringing that out.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing you asked about was like, what does the Quran say about the Torah? So, growing up Muslim, I was always told that, the Torah, yes, as Muslims, we believe in the Torah. We believe that it originally, was given to Moses, but what they have today is not the Torah. The Torah is lost or is corrupted. So now we all have to follow the Quran. This is what they teach you, but that's not what the Quran says. So, for example, here, Surah 543, this is one of my favorite verses when I'm talking with Muslims. It says, وَكَيْفَ يُحَكِّمُونَكَ وَعِنْدَهُمُ التَّوْرَاةُ فِيهَا حُكْمُ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ يَتَوَلَّوْنَ مِنْ بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ وَمَا أُولَٰئِكَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ. It says, but why do they come to you for judgment when they have the Torah? So wait a minute. During the time of Prophet Muhammad, the Quran is saying that the Jews of Medina don't need to come to the Prophet for judgment because they have the Torah.
Come on. Bring
If
it
the
out.
Torah was corrupted, why would it tell them to go to their own Torah for judgment?
Where's my Ric Flair voice? Woo!
Like this is a verse that really stood out to me. Like, wait a minute. I hear people say, "Oh no, they don't. What they have, the Torah is not the real Torah." Well, according to the Quran, it says, "Wa indahum Torah." They have the Torah, right? They and when you use that word "ind," that means that they physically have it. Not that they had it in the past. They physically have it present with them right now. That's what that word indicates. So that was one. And it goes on to say, "Woman about that." Okay, it says, the judgment of God is in there. And then they turn away afterwards. And then if they do so, they're not believers. If they refuse, if these Israelites refuse to follow the Torah, they are not believers.
So, to be clear, you mean in the Quran is telling us that the children of Israel are to follow the Torah.
Yes,
I have the Quran. As I showed you, the Quran that I have is a Hebrew translation. And it's a unique translation because although there are somewhat different words obviously used in the Hebrew from the Arabic, it still allows me as a Hebrew reader to better understand the Quran because I'm looking at it through the vantage point of a language I have a lot of understanding for, a lot of experience with. So when you go to Surah 2, Baqarah, the cow, one of the things that I was very much enlightened on is this very issue that you're talking about. There's an experience mentioned in Surah 2 where an Israelite is having an issue with a Muslim, and they both approach Prophet Muhammad. And Prophet Muhammad tells the Israelite, "Why do you come to me, seeing that you have the Torah, and it was given to you to know?" I'm paraphrasing. Another issue occurs in the Quran. And stop me if I'm saying something wrong. You're a Quranic scholar. And
so what you're referring to actually is connected to this verse I just read. What you're referring to is the Hadith al-Rajam, which is the Hadith of the stoning, where in Medina you had a Jew who had committed adultery, and the Jews knew that the punishment for adultery was stoning, but in the Quran it's a different punishment. It's lashes. So instead of carrying out their own punishment, they wanted to go and get a ruling from Muhammad, right? And say, "Hey, this is what happened. What do you say?" And then the hadith says that Muhammad told them, bring the Torah. And so they brought the Torah and he laid it down on his lap. Obviously, he couldn't read the Hebrew, so he had to have somebody else read it. And he said, "What does the Torah say about this? What are you supposed to do?" And they covered the part with their hand that said to stone. And then somebody saw it. "Hey, move your hand out of the way." And they saw that it was stoning, and that's the judgment that they use. And that is exactly, that ties into this verse that I just read.
That's right. There's one more thing in the Quran. I don't remember which surah I read it in, but I want you to stop me if I'm misrepresenting it. And I also want you to stop me, like literally cut me off and add more context when it's needed. There's another surah that I read years ago, and it said this. again, Jews and Muslims are having discussions, not necessarily debates, but they're having discussions centered around the Quran, centered around the Bible and the Torah. And one such discussion is again on the relevancy of the Bible. And I don't remember the exact quote verbatim, but I do know that the issue is on the Torah and its accuracy. And Muhammad makes it clear that the Torah is primal. Could you, if you are aware of what I'm saying, could you add more clarity into passages and places in the Quran where Prophet Muhammad speaks of the primacy of Torah, as it were?
Yes. So a good example would be 1094, Surah 1094, which is Surah Yunus. It says, فَإِن كُنْتَ فِي شَكٍّ مِّمَّا أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ فَاسْأَلِ الَّذِينَ يَقْرَؤُونَ الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَقَدْ جَاءَكَ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ فَلَا تَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. If you, and now this is specifically addressing Prophet Muhammad himself, if you, Prophet, are in doubt about that which we revealed to you, then ask those who read the scripture before you. The truth will certainly come to you from your Lord. So in the Quran, the Prophet is being told to go to the people of the book if you are in doubt.
Come on. That is clearly establishing what we would call the primacy of Torah, and that's the passage I was looking for, where Muhammad is having this discussion, and it's told to him essentially that if there's something that is irreconcilable, I'm paraphrasing, in the Quran, something that is a matter of dispute, then you shall go to the people of the book, you shall go to the Torah for clarity and clarification. Anyone familiar with religious literature knows what's happening here. The author is placing the level of primacy on the Torah as being the origin and the source. And the Quran doesn't ever try to hide this. The Quran pays homage to who it calls Isa, who we say is Yeshua. The Quran pays homage to who they call Ibrahim, which we call Abraham. Are there areas of Quranic study that differ vastly from things taught in the Bible? Absolutely. But I want to remind everybody of something. The creator, and you know what? I'm going to save this for our discussion because I was just going to say something so god darn controversial. But I said to you before that the discussion I wanted to first have with you on my YouTube podcast is the Quran, the areas that clarify Torah, controversial areas, and in what way the Quran can be seen as a living word, and speak towards whether or not there are prophets in other nations. The Bible acknowledges that there are prophets in other nations. The Bible speaks of a man called Balaam. The Bible doesn't hide that the Creator communicates directly with him. He is not an Israelite. So we're going to have this conversation, but I think it should be another show, a separate show where I can get to title it under your name. But at this point in the conversation, I'm going to remind everybody that the link to join the live stream is there. I only have another 10 minutes at tops. I actually went over my time because I'm now realizing who I'm standing in front of. Powerful, powerful brother. We call him Moreh Gamliel. And I'm going to allow you to dictate the course of the show's ending to go into any area you want, unless someone joins the stage to interject with us.
Okay, so yeah, one more verse I was going to share. So something that you'll see over and over in the Quran is that when Muhammad is talking to his people, he uses language like, you don't believe me, but the children of Israel testify that what I'm telling you is the truth. So he's using them as like a source of backing or support when he's dealing with his own people. And so, for example, here you have Surah 26, 197 that says, أَوَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ آيَةٌ يَعْلَمُهُ عُلَمَاءُ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل. It was not sufficient proof.
My fault. I deal in textual criticism. I deal in comparing and contrast. A lot of people don't like the pronunciation Jesus because they say it's the Greek, Iusis. But what a lot of people don't know is this. The Greek translators of the Hebrew Bible from Hebrew into Greek, they translated Hebrew words into Greek. But when it came to Hebrew names, they transliterated so that the names would retain the phonology that it had in its original language, which is telling, because the I in Greek is the Hebrew Y. The Isis is a form of Greek trying to adopt and follow the flow of Yeshua. And they'll even tell you that the reason why the Greek is pronounced Iusis is because it's trying to capture the name Yeshua, not Yahawashi. Now you just said something which is highly telling. You called in the Quran the children of Israel. Say it again. Bani who?
Bani Israel.
Thank you. That pronunciation captures how our name was pronounced in Hebrew, Yisrael. Is it anywhere in a hadith, any Quranic verse where we're called Yasharal, Yasharel, or Yasharal, good brother?
No. And that's why I said, like, I knew that the Lashon HaQodesh was not correct, because, I mean, okay, if they say that the reason why it's Israel or Israel or Yisrael in Hebrew is because, oh, that's Yiddish. Well, how do you explain that in Arabic? It's the same in Arabic.
I can't wait to interview you. Come on.
Yeah. Like, literally, when I was learning Hebrew, so a lot of words I came across is like, oh, we have this, and even in the class I would say, oh yeah, we have that word in Arabic, we have that word in Arabic, we have that word in Arabic, same word in Arabic. Yeah, I know that word. Hukma, hukma is hikmah,
right,
in Arabic, right? Yom, same thing, right? So
can I say this one thing?
Yeah,
I'm sure you have heard a camp Israelite say something like, oh, we don't believe in Allah. In fact, Allah is like a pagan god, a pagan name, a pagan pronunciation. Listen to how that same camp member will call the name Israel. Yasher Allah.
Yasher Allah.
When you ask them which part of the name is a reference to God, they say Allah. But then they'll tell you Allah is fake. It's
right.
So I'm basically trying to say this is madness. This is insane. But continue, good brother.
Yeah. So this verse basically was saying that, I guess in this verse he's talking to his people. Prophet Muhammad was talking to his people. He's saying, you're basically denying what I'm teaching you, but the children of Israel, they believe it. They say that it's the truth, right? So he's using them as an authority. He's appealing to the children of Israel as an authority on the subjects and the knowledge that he's teaching his own people, right? So over and over, you see that in the Quran where it's appealing to the Israelites as the authority on this matter, and leveraging their their history and saying, hey, look, if you don't believe me, go ask them. They'll tell you that. Yeah,
I'll say to you, with that point in mind, is it fair to say that there's a strong sentiment of the existence of appealing to the Torah and Israel in general for issues of confusion as it relates to Quranic teachings?
Yes. As a matter of fact, if you took the position that a lot of Muslims take, that, oh no, they can't trust the Bible, you can't trust the Torah, and you just discard it completely, a lot of the Quran is not going to make sense. The Quran assumes that you have certain knowledge already that can only come from the Bible. For example, in the Bible, in the Quran, it calls Yeshua the Messiah, the Messiah, but it never tells you what is a Messiah.
That's right.
It assumes that you already have that knowledge from the previous scriptures.
Come on.
Right?
Come on.
And not only that, but the Quran commands the Muslims to believe in the Torah. And it says if they don't, then they've gone far astray. I think that's 136 of the Quran. Yeah, here it is.
Guys, if you are enjoying this live stream, thumb up the video, share the live stream. Make sure you guys join Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. And guys, don't forget, we've been going now not even almost 3 hours and 15 minutes. We haven't had a single donation from anyone on the live stream, anyone in the community. Guys, support the platform. I'll stop teaching right now, this moment. What time is it? No joke. 12:15 p.m. I'll stop teaching right now if you can show me what Israelite channel went into detail and what was discussed in the last 3 hours and 15 minutes as we just did. Support those sources of information that help the community to grow. We are not the only community to help others to grow. We are not the only source to help the community, but we are doing one hell of a job. Respect that by your support, everyone. Please donate and support to the platform. Continue, good brother.
Oh yeah. So no, it was just showing how the Quran actually relies upon the Torah and the Injil and the writings of the prophets, because it's building on top of that information. So it's building on top of the Israelite knowledge, right? If you had no knowledge whatsoever, let's say you've never read the Torah, you've never read the Bible, the Gospels, or anything like that, and you pick up the Quran, you're not going to understand the Quran.
Come on.
You're not going to understand it.
The Quran,
you're not going to know what it's talking about.
The Quranic writers and scribes assume knowledge of the Bible in order to even frame understanding the Quran. As you said, there are several key concepts and ideas that go without being defined and clarified, because the assumption of the writer is that everyone followed the first set of messengers that the Quran puts a cosign of respect on, right? So, and I'll say the same thing. For those of you who say, oh, the Hebrew Bible doesn't have an oral tradition, that's the Quran, it has the Hadith. But we don't have that. Yes, we did. We are told in the book of Leviticus 16 that there shall be a goat sent to Azazel. Somebody tell me where in the Hebrew Bible it tells you who Azazel is. The writers of the Bible assume that we have our thumb on our tradition. The writers of the Bible assume that we are in tune with our tradition. There are several concepts in the Bible without clarification by the scribes, because the writers assume that the people are familiar with their own traditions. You know, the traditions that your camp teacher told you was Jewish. Oh, but Yeshua said that, you know, the traditions of men. Yes, he did. But what was that relative to? He was very clear. He was very clear when he said that they elongate their tzitzi, their fringes. The oral tradition doesn't tell you to make your fringes very long, very large. The Pharisees were doing that, adding to what the oral tradition says. There's nowhere in the oral tradition, Torah Shaval Pei, that says that a person has to make their fringes extra long. There's nowhere in the oral tradition that says you got to wash your hands while standing upside down, humming Kumbaya. The Pharisees was doing too much. Yeshua is not against the oral tradition. He was against the Pharisees doing too much. No, he was against them. How? You never read Matthew 23:2? The scribes and the Pharisees sit upon the seat of Moses. Therefore, everything they teach, that shall you do. So let me tell you, we're so brilliant, we're so wise that we don't understand that a person whose knowledge base I respect, I can still have critique for. Can I give you examples? I respect good brother Divine Prospect. I don't agree with everything he says and does. I have critique for it. Good brother Divine Prospect respects my scholarship. Does he agree with everything I teach and do? No, he has critique for it. So is it possible that we can respect a person's knowledge base while still offer critique for things that they do in error? Yes. So critiquing someone does not mean I throw out all of what they believe, but it means very clearly I critique where I critique and I agree where I agree. I'm sorry. I'm on a tangent.
That's a very fair approach. You don't have to be to any extreme. You can agree with things and you can have things that you don't agree with, right? And I find that that's something that is lacking in the Israelite community, is that people will only take from you if they agree with you on everything, right? And once you go into an area that they don't agree with, and they say, oh no, you're going off, you're bugged out or whatever, and you find that this is especially true when it comes to the language, that they just don't want to deal with the language. I find that there are some people, I don't know, just seem like they're intimidated by it, or they're afraid of it. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're Israelites. This is our language. No, that's not the real language. We'll get the language when we get back into the kingdom, blah, blah, blah. For now, we're just going to stick to the English. And I'm like, bro, like, okay, that's fine. But, you know, for me, language has always been a core component. And long before I, came to the truth, I was big into languages, studying Arabic, Farsi, Spanish, and then later on Hebrew, right? So I love languages. I love learning languages. That's the thing I love to do the most. If I had all the free time in the world, I would spend it just learning languages. So I just want to say to anybody who may be on the fence or feels intimidated by it, it's not a hard language, and it will help you. And you have brothers like Brother Zion, great teacher, who assist you. I didn't have a teacher when I started. I just started, I just got some books and learned it on my own. But if you have a good teacher, like, you should take advantage of that. And he will shorten that learning curve for you and answer questions when you're confused.
I appreciate you for that, good brother. So I'm going to say one more. I'm going to make one more statement, and then I'm going to ask you to close the show with any final thoughts. But clearly, we're going to have you back on. May it be the will and grace of the Creator. We are going to have you back on. We are going to do that show that you and I planned. I look forward to it. As I told you before, you are a very skillful orator. You are a very gifted personality. Even the comment section is bearing witness to that. I thank the Father, the Creator, for your life, for your experiences, and I thank Him for introducing me to you. And I know that when these types of introductions are made, it's because work needs to be done. We're not introducing each other for the sake of saying, hey, I met so-and-so, but work needs to be done, right? There's a reason why the stonemason meets the carpenter and the painter. There's work to be done. We all possess skill sets. Put us on a construction site. It's time to build. On that note, here's my final statement that I'd like to make to the community. With humility, grace, patience, and discipline, we can grow. If we continue in ignorance, challenging others from a place of pure ignorance without having enough humility to say, let me hear you out fully. If we continue in the spirit of ignorance to say so-and-so is wrong, even though you know you have never fully investigated their position. If you continue in ignorance and say, oh, so-and-so is wrong because he's Old Testament only, so he can't have any knowledge because he's Old Testament only. Well, I too was once Old Testament only, and I had a great deal of knowledge in that sphere. I am now in the full volume of the scriptures, and I have even more information to bring and spare. We have to stop discrediting the value and credit of one another because of those things we see in each other that are seemingly different. We are powerful when we are united. There are several scriptures that speaks to the power of the unity of Israel. I can think in this moment as I close, say, Aharon, Aaron, Hagadol, Kohen, the high priest. What does he say? How beautiful and precious is the unity of Israel. It is like unto the oil, even the oil that ran down upon the beard, even the beard of Aaron. You know, my teacher used to say, when the anointment oil is poured on a person, it empowers them to do on earth what only the Father does in heaven. It gives man the opportunity, it gives man the ability to move in the spiritual quality of his maker. If our unity is as that, empowering us like the oil of anointment that gave us the capacity to move in the divine qualities of our Creator, then when will we learn that until we come together, we will never get this thing right? Some of us have pieces of the puzzle. If we're honest, some of us have larger pieces of the puzzle. But can I humble those in the community who may possess larger pieces of that puzzle? Calm down. I get it. Like myself, we've been around a long time. We've acquired a lot. The pieces that we bring to the table, they're huge. But the puzzle don't get solved without them small pieces. Humble your goddamn self. Even when I say I've been in the community 32 years, that's something that people say he's bragging. There's a bit of shame that comes with that. Because in 32 years, what the hell did I build? Humble, humble, humble. Good brother, it's on you.
Yeah, you definitely learn a lot more when you have a humble spirit and you're willing to recognize that you don't know everything. You know, me coming from a completely different background into this truth 10 years ago, never really having read the Bible. I had to start over. I was basically like a Zion Lexx, but on the Islamic side, right? And I'm a baby now. You know, I'm learning everything all over, you know, learning the Torah, learning the commandments, learning Hebrew, you know, and so I can't. I'm nothing, you know. But that's part of the learning process. It's just you gotta admit that you don't know everything, and there are other people around you who do know better, and you can learn from them. And you definitely should learn from them. So I'm happy to have brothers like Zion around, who I can learn from, and you know, he's that, and whatever I can share with him from my background, you know, hopefully it helps him as well, and that's how we grow together. So I definitely would like to see more of this that you're doing. I'm so happy you came out and did this and had the dialogue with the One West brothers. I saw you talking with Haka the other day as well. Hopefully, you know, you can build with him as well. And I'm really looking forward to that 12 tribes chart thing, because that has never sat right with me, man.
Yeah, I have a disclaimer on that. I have a disclaimer. I always wanted to talk about the 12 tribes chart. Since the 90s, my school of thought would teach the origins of that chart. There's a video online of an elder. His name is Chief of Chiefs, Chief Naftali. He's a former member of a very old congregation here in New York City called B'nai Zakin or B'nai Zakin. B'nai Zakin has satellite camps. There were several camps of B'nai Zakin in New York, but there were also the origin and source camp in Chicago. Anyone familiar with the history of that camp, we proudly say, I hope that doesn't come off as arrogant, that our school produces two people, sometimes three, scholars and warriors, sometimes men who are both scholars and warriors. My teacher is the elder in the video that everyone says has exposed the 12 tribes chart, when he said that Chief of Chief, Chief Daniel, or what we call read the book Daniel, as he was talking to Abba Bibbins, or Pop as we called him, he said, "Come on, Pop, you know that chart ain't right." And Abba Bibbins looked at read the book Daniel sitting in B'nai Zakin and said, "Yeah, Danny, we know, but that's how you get the people in.
I saw that video.
Well, let me tell you guys something. I'm going to show you guys a video of my very first book signing, where that same teacher you guys saw exposed the 12 tribes chart because he knew Abba Bibbins personally, and he knew that Abba Bibbins knew that the chart wasn't accurate. That's my teacher. You're going to see a video of him at my book signing telling the people that I learned Hebrew from him. So that now should establish my lineage. I didn't go on YouTube to learn Hebrew. I learned from an actual credible and meritable teacher. And then I'm going to show the video after that of him exposing the 12 tribes chart. But I'm going to do something that he didn't have the time to do that day because he was just being asked random questions. I'm going to continue the work of my teacher, and I'm going to demonstrate why that chart is wrong. But I have to now close with my disclaimer. For several years, I refrained from talking about that chart because, just as Abba Bibbins acknowledged, it was the hook. It was the thing that got people in the building. Many people who are Israelites today are not Israelites because they heard me. People who update their information come into update because they hear from people like me, Divine, and others. But much of people who know that they are Israelites today is not from a Zion Lexx TV video. It's from the One West camps. While their methods may not be accurate, it served a purpose. That purpose, in my opinion, it's towards the will of the Father. There are templates in the Bible where the Creator can use deceit. Who will go down there and be a lying spirit among us? Y'all don't remember in the book of Kings where the angels convened on high in the presence of the Creator and said, who will go down there from among us and be a lying spirit among us? There are times where the Creator will even use deceit towards his will. So because I knew and understood the relevance of that chart and how that hook was successful in bringing a lot of people in, I said that I would refrain from talking against it, because I know in part it's responsible for a lot of people waking up. But I got to tell you something. The time is now. We are in the age of revelation. Everybody knows what an Israelite is. Sure, most people have a very bad perception of what that is, but everybody knows what it is. So that hook, it served its purpose. So now it's time to really teach. Close us out, Gamliel.
Once again, just I'm happy, and I definitely appreciate you and what you do. Keep up the good work, and I hope more people are inspired by your lessons and take the language seriously, because it will unlock a lot of things. And we should be happy to have somebody like Zion Lexx in the community who can teach us these things. So take advantage of it.
Thank you very much, good brother. So let's connect behind the scenes. You got my number, I have yours. Let's figure out a day and time that works for you. I will stop what I'm doing to make time. But by all means, you took the first step, you jumped on. So let's now follow through and do an actual podcast interview. I need to interview you. May it be the will of the Father that we make that happen. Thank you for coming here, good brother. And I look forward to conversating with you both publicly and privately. Love you, good brother. Take care. Shalom. All right, everyone. That was our brother, Moreh Gamliel, powerful brother. He is a part of Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. I see him as one of our Morehs, one of our teachers. Whenever he opens his mic to talk in class, everybody stops. Silence. The man has years of experience and years of wisdom, and we all glean from it. We all learn from it. I am not a teacher that arrogates my ideas. And Learn Torah Hebrew Academy, everybody that comes through the doors is a teacher. On the first day of class, I greet everyone as Moreh if you're a male. I greet everyone as Morah if you're a female. Everyone is a teacher. But we don't got the knowledge yet. We all have experience. We're all teachers. We're just at different levels. I can't make you what God hasn't already designed for you. And God said we are a kingdom of priests. So we are all teachers. We're just operating at different levels and different experiences. It's my job in part to help our community get to the next level. And it's the job of others to get to the next level. But we all have a job to do. On that note, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Throw up the video, share the live stream. I want to thank our donors. Shout out to Moreh Troublemaker. He calls himself Benjamin Direwolf, Genesis 49:27. I want to thank him for his gracious donations, his patronage and his support to the Academy, his support to the Israelite community online. This brother is a powerhouse. He supports wherever he sees good work ethic, and I have to respect that. I also want to thank Atar Israel for your support in donating. Thank you so very much. I also want to point out that there was another person that sent a donation. Their name is Yan, Akyan. Thank you. Thank you very much, Akyan. With that being said, everyone, we're going to close the live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed this session, and I more than likely will be back to do the Feast of Dedication. If not tonight, we will certainly be doing it tomorrow night. We'll be talking about Hanukkah historically, linguistically, and from the lens of what our ancients had to say. It's going to be a powerful discussion. If you guys have never seen me go in on the story of Hanukkah, wait on it. It's powerful. Take care, family. Shalom.
Shalom and welcome to Zion Lexx TV. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, and share the live stream. Become a member of Zion Lexx TV and unlock several hidden features and hidden videos. Also, you can donate to Zion Lexx TV at Cash App $Zion Lexx or via PayPal at zionlex@gmail.com. We also have an online academy entitled Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. Visit us on patreon.com/learntorah. Our Gold tier membership gives you unlimited access to our special event lectures and our special live movie nights. Our Platinum tier gives you unlimited access to our Torah class, Kabbalah class, Patriarchs and Matriarchs of the Covenant classes, as well as understanding the New Testament via the Oral Tradition class. Our Diamond tier gives you unlimited access to all of the previous tiers, as well as our most sought-after class, our Biblical Hebrew course. And finally, our highest tier, our Sapphire tier, gives you unlimited access to all previous tiers, as well as our highly esteemed rabbinical course. Be sure to sign up today and check your tier membership so as to ensure you're getting access to the classes you desire. Thank you for visiting us here at Zion, Lexx TV, and now back to our current live stream.
I was personally very amazed by your level. I was not judgmental at all. I did not knew. But what I've seen today in many yeshiva that put my legs where I went through, many are not at your level at all. And I will really say to all the people who study under you to believe that they have a real master. Because the way you receive us, the way you explain the Torah, the fire you bring through your explanation, it's like a stamp on the fact that you are a real one, a real sages. It will be my honor to share, to talk more about Learn Torah Hebrew Academy. And I really say I'm amazed by the way you succeed to collect and to connect with every type of people, and the way you grab and spread the knowledge. I've never seen that in my life. I have to be honest. And you stay very simple, very humble, and I think many people have to learn from you. And this needed to be said also in front of many people. And you know, when we talk about spirituality, we don't look at the envelope, we look at the soul.
Come on.
It's amazing. So Dahaba, thank you very much.
All right, perfect. So again, it's amazing to be here with Rav Zion and just, you know, having this conversation. And the conversation is great. You know, it's also, I also feel like it's a gift for me as well. Like, there's so many deep and amazing insights that Rav Zion brings out, and it gets me thinking. And when I look back on these conversations, you know, on YouTube, you know, I hear a lot of the things he's saying again, and it's like, wow, that was really deep. And the other, you know, I talked to other rabbis too in our community, and they were like, they said, yeah, I saw the thing you did with Lexx Zion. It's like, and I was like, yeah, it's like, they're like, he knows a lot. You know, and I'm like, yeah, like, you know, but like, they said it, he's like, he knows a lot, you know. But you dress like a Ben Torah, and it's and people are bothered by that, or like even say this idea of like saying like, why would I not call Rav Zion HaGadol? Why would I not? How many people has he been teaching for how many years? Do you know what greatness that is? Do you even have the merit to teach Torah to people? That God even gave you, put you in a position in life that's something that people, you know how many people I've met, they're like, yeah, you know, Rav Zion's, I should learn with him, blah, blah, blah. Like I told you, the Hart family, right?
Yeah, amazing family.
Yeah, they're moving to Israel, right? Or maybe they're already here, who knows? But the point is just saying that, like, they were inspired by your teachings, right? And there's been so many other people who've been inspired by your teachings.
Oh, my king.
Shalom, my great brother. And you know, when people say so many great things about you and say that it takes one to know one. So I can reverse all of those things, you know, right back to you, because I've been following you for a long time. And, you know, the immense knowledge I learned from you, the respect that I have for you, the honor that I give you, you know, as one of the great teachers in the Israelite community, and not only to the Israelite community, but to our family, wherever they may be found, is one that is second to none. And I do appreciate the work that you've been doing, that you do, and you don't know how much you inspire me, you know. So I wanted you to know that as well, you know, that you have that type of effect on brothers and sisters. You know, you may just been started following me, but I've been following you for a long time. And a lot of what I know actually came from, you know, some things that you had shared that I needed to go and to research deeper. So I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and how much I love you, and how much is an honor for me to even be invited to your platform, my brother. I mean, you know, I don't take this lightly at all. I'm very appreciative of it. And thank you. Thank you.
What Hebrew Israelite you think is the best though?
The best?
Allah?
I think Captain, as far as the debate, is the epitome in the One West community.
I agree. I think
Zion is a very good debater. If he wants to do the whole Sumer thing or whatever, we could chop it up after the book. I mean, it's up to him.
Now, as far as the true scholarship, I got to go with Zion Lexx on that.
I don't know about true scholarship, but hey, you know.
I'm talking about as far as Hebrew Israelites. I'm going with Zion with their scholarship.
I would go with Divine.
If I was to say Hebrew against Hebrew, I would have to go with Zion Lexx.
Well, I'll go with Divine. I think Divine is more thorough. As far as a debater, Zion is the best. Zion and Captain is the best, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt in my mind. That boy Zion, oh man, he gonna chop this video up, by the way, too. He gonna chop it up, put it on his timeline. You see what Garfield said? When it comes to that debating from the Hebrews, ain't nobody better than Zion and Captain. I'm just gonna say that. The way to whoever wrote those Hebrew writings was smarter than anybody we have ever met in our life. The way to whoever wrote those Hebrew writings was smarter than anybody we have ever met in our life.
Why you say that?
Because when I'm studying the writing, and they have what's called they have idioms. They have idioms, family. They have metaphors. They have epithets. Epithets is like, say, El is the God. So you'd have El Elyon. El Elyon would be probably, no, that's not a good example. But just different names of that same God would be an epithet of that God. They have epithets. They have idioms. Who does that if you're not intelligent? I know that, but I'm just saying they had some sort of numerology in there. When you see Zion going into the whole Gematria stuff, that's later on, but they did have some sort of Gematria in numeric, alphanumeric thing going. I'm saying this to everybody who is in Kemet. We know how great Kemet is, but whoever wrote the text, whoever wrote that Bible is smart as a mother effer.
If you want to have a better view on how the Bible looks at women in its proper context, then you should get these two books. Matrix of the Covenant, written by Abdil Ben Levi, popularly known as Zion Lexx. This is a masterpiece.
I want to say this. We have to support each other. We have to support black businesses. I must say, when it comes to biblical Hebrew and you want to study it, my brother Zion Lexx has classes. He doesn't only teach biblical Hebrew, he teaches Metametra. Please, you want to learn? Absolutely. Go to him. Let him teach you what he has mastered. It's beautiful to watch him display it.
Shalom, shalom, family. This is your brother Avdiel Ben Levi, otherwise known as Zion Lexx. Go to Amazon and purchase all of my books. Type in my author name, Avdiel Ben Levi, or you can also type in Zion Lexx. There you'll find some of my earliest books and my latest works. It was written and engraved. The DNA of Sound, The Star of David Controversy, Ancient Kemet on Trial, Patriarchs of the Covenant, Matriarchs of the Covenant, and my two foremost books that are critically acclaimed on Amazon, and even one has become a bestseller, and that's going to be the Messiah Codex Volume 1 and Messiah Codex Volume 2. So go to Amazon.com today, type in my name, Avdiel Ben Levi, otherwise known as Zion Lexx, and there you can purchase all of my books. Peace and shalom, family.
Tearing down idols and we cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. Throwing out crystals, we don't need these stones. And we ain't no gods, that's a job for y'all. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High, Yahuwah. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Yah Israel. Tearing down idols, we cutting down poles. We calling back Israel to the hell we know. We throwing out crystals, yeah. We don't need these stones. We ain't no God, that's a job for Yah. Cutting down poles, we're calling back Israel to the hell we know. We're throwing out crystals, we don't need these stones, and we ain't no gods. That's a job for y'all. Everybody help me say all praise. All praise to the Most High. I can't hear you say. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. Hey, all praise. Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me just explain. Abraham, Isaac was the, Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel.